Raj. Bill's sitting right on the banks of Lake Murray as the sun is about to rise. Patrick's hanging out in his. You're in the bedroom, right? Whiteboard right
Yep.
over your shoulder. Looks all awfully lonely over there. And then Jen, a new and improved Jen Jensen, producing back at the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown Columbia. Bill, your thoughts this morning about where we sit? Let's go with the Big 12 meeting with Oklahoma and Texas officials, with the exit for the SEC seeming that much more likely. I think in a lot of ways, I guess Texas A&M had booked a meeting for today to talk about their hurt feelings about the SEC. Where do you stand? How do you read the tea leaves this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of joking on Friday after the show. Decided to head down to Charleston and just take a day down there, go hang out on the beach and get some good seafood and come on back. But as we were going down there, I was trying to keep up with the news, which seemed to be picking up, and I almost felt like by the time I got back to Columbia, either Texas or Oklahoma would be on the schedule for this year. That we were moving that quickly there in that direction, and I have a feeling today will bring more news as we get closer to the close of business out in Texas and in Oklahoma. And it wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the week, maybe we don't have an official announcement. That might be a few weeks away from an official visit or official announcement, but it does appear that this is going to happen. I think the questions now become, as Chris asks on the live stream, a 20-team super conference. Are they stopping at 16? Is it going further? What will the divisions or pods look like? When will the actual move be made? I feel like now we're past the question of will they or won't they. It's what does this cause and what does it start to look like?
The latest news is that the Big 12 Executive Committee got on a Zoom call, video conference call last night with presidents from Oklahoma and Texas. And whenever you hear this, to sum up a meeting, it always makes me smile. The meeting was cordial.
Yeah.
It's like there are a lot of meetings that just start and just go completely off the rails immediately. Just a bunch of cursing at each other, professional men, professional people. I expect we will continue our conversations. Bob Bowlesby stay in the conference there, the Big 12, the conference commissioner, I should say, which to me says they're still expecting Oklahoma and Texas to formally notify the league, I guess today, that they don't intend to renew those media rights and they're going forward with this thing. So not overly surprising, still seems like momentum going in that direction for sure. Not overly surprising, I guess, that Team USA basketball lost to France yesterday, but it is the first time that Team USA has lost in Olympic basketball since 2004. And I turned it on. There's less than 4 minutes to go. Team USA's up 74-67, I think, something like that, up by 7 points. And then they basically don't score anymore. Outscored 16-2 down the stretch. I guess it's something. I mean, Greg Popovich afterwards says it shouldn't be a surprise anymore. It's kind of concerning, I think, when Team USA, the coach, responsible for a team that hadn't lost in Olympic competition in 20-some games, I think it is, in 17 years now, says it's not that big of a surprise, but just a bit of a struggle, I feel like, where Team USA basketball is at. Did you watch any of it, Bill? And what is your analysis right now? Because to me, it was just a team that played in spurts. Was obviously better than Team France. France had some good players. Rudy Gobert, probably the most notable. Evan Fournier lit it up with, 28 points, I think, in the game. But clearly, Team USA is much more talented. They're just not much of a team at this point, it seems.
Yeah, it's just not come together. And I don't know. I was going to say I had this discussion with someone over the weekend, just talking Olympics because we were at a wedding and then kind of talking with different people and just kind of cutting up. And basketball did get brought up. I don't want to defend them because they should still win. They're the best. These are the best players in the world that America has. But I do wonder for some of the guys. These are all guys who have played significant, or a lot of them have played significant minutes. And going back to the end of last season in the bubble, Patrick, I'll kind of defer to you. You watch a lot of NBA. You kind of know to this and see what you think about it. But going back to the bubble, the quick turnaround and starting the season in December, carrying all the way into July the way they have, Do you think there's that most of these are just worn out? Most of these guys are just burnt out right now at this point?
I don't know. I mean, Olympic Games are only 40 minutes, and they should be going 12 deep on all these games. I don't think that's an excuse. I mean, they shouldn't be even having to exert themselves that hard. Like, it should be easy. That's why, like, in the 2008 and 2012 Olympics, when it was everybody, when it was LeBron, Kobe, Chris Paul, Jason Kidd, Dwayne Wade, like all the best players, and it was like easy for them. They're just going through the motions, blowing teams out by 40 points and getting to chill. I mean, they're playing against NBA players too. I mean, these other teams have NBA players. Like Rudy Gobert is the best player on Team France, and he was in the playoffs. So I don't know that it should be a tired thing. It's probably too many superstars that are playing, I guess, selfish basketball to an extent. I know that I definitely seen some highlights of guys basically flopping or expecting calls and throwing balls up in the air, thinking that they're going to get a call, and the international refs are just like, yeah, we don't call that here. There's no superstar treatment in international basketball. Sorry. Like I saw Dame Lillard going flying, trying to do the stop, dribble in front of somebody, stop and let them run into your back and then throw the ball at the rim. And like, it just wasn't working. They weren't getting those calls. And a lot of these guys aren't used to playing defense either. So I just think it's a combination of things. And maybe stuff like this will be inspiration for the best players to actually come back in 2024 and say, yeah, we are the best. And because that's what it took was 2004 getting that bronze medal in Sydney. Can't remember which one it was. And then coming back with all the best players in 2008 and just destroying everybody. So I don't know. It's pretty sad. Pretty sad that we're not just blowing everyone out, because they should. Everybody's good. Everybody's got NBA players. Not everybody should be able to field a team of 12 superstars.
Patrick, how much did you get into the Olympics overall over the weekend?
I watched as much as I can. It's kind of difficult. I'm struggling to navigate through my NBC app and switching between Peacock and all that sort of stuff. And obviously things are on at very strange hours. But I've been watching. I've watched a 12-year-old Syrian girl playing ping pong. That was insane.
Oh.
Watching a 12-year-old, it was nuts. So I like seeing things like that.
What about you, Bill?
Yeah, I didn't catch the 12-year-old ping pong girl, but I did catch ping pong and it was I called America versus Nigeria, and the Nigerian girl, I guess, had was like a 2-time world champion when she was pregnant and took the sport very, very seriously. She was getting whipped by the American, who was pretty good herself, and so that was entertaining. Watched a little beach volleyball, some taekwondo over the weekend. Jiu-jitsu, I think, was another thing I called. Some slalom, kayaking, I believe. Yeah, all the sports that I've never seen or could never participate in my life is probably what I called over the weekend.
No gymnastics then? I was watching a little bit of Simone Biles last night. I guess she was a little off her game, they were saying.
I think that was the course. I did watch some of that. I wanted to bring this up today. This might be a poll question for later date. What would be your best Olympic sport?
Handball. I was thinking about that on Friday. It'd be handball.
I'm not saying.
I was thinking about, there was too much Texas Oklahoma to talk about, but I thought of that exact question.
Yeah, I wondered about that, because the other thing I was watching, and I don't know if it was yesterday morning or Saturday morning, but water polo. And just like it was like women's water polo. I think it was like America versus China or something. I can't remember, but it was just how hard that is to participate in that sport. Like, and it almost makes me break out, like in stress, just thinking about trying to swim, stay afloat, and catch the ball and do all that. Because their
cores are insane, because they're still lifting up out of the water.
Right.
They've been floating the entire time. When they go take their shots, they're just like all the way out. It's nuts.
Yeah. So I think maybe the best way to go is, what would be your worst one? The water polo, I wouldn't even be able to get into the game and get out of the game without fear of drowning. But just check in and check out. It would be all I could do. I feel like I'm a decent swimmer, but man, just the strength and the endurance and the whole thing there. You got that. I mean, there's so many other ones too. That bodily injury would happen so quickly for me. Right? Pole vault comes to mind, diving, anything like that, and it would be big trouble. skateboarding, surfing, any of those things.
I mean, gymnastics, I just genuinely could not do it. I couldn't get up on it. They'd say, "Here's the rings, go do your thing," and I couldn't.
Can you
lift
imagine
up.
us doing a floor exercise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are two things that
Well, at least that's something you
don't
can
go together in
physically
my life
do.
anyway.
You could run around on a mat, but they're like, "Here's the pommel horse. Get on it and do something." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" I just climb up on it like sideways, and I'd be sitting on it and be like, "All right, now what?"
Yeah, the rings. Did you just mention the rings?
Yeah, the
You
rings.
get
I
one of
couldn't even lift
rings and
myself up. I would just fall.
The balance beam, forget about it, right? Just trying to walk across it.
Yeah.
I'd feel like an Olympic champion if I made it to from one end to the other.
Guys don't do balance beam, right? What the guys do the pommel horse instead of the balance beam? Is that what it is?
I think
And
that's
then the
correct.
rings instead of the. I can't remember all of them. It's
The
5
floor
events, right?
Maybe not that.
I
I can't
watched.
remember. I'll have to look it up.
Floor exercise.
They
either.
they also had swimming on last night, and I was watching that, and I was laughing last night because I forget which swim it was they were doing, but they were talking about how one particular swimmer was very what was the word that was used? I think messy in how they hit the wall, and came back
one
the
of those-
other direction.
The sloppy transitions you can't have.
Sloppy transition. And I was sitting there and I was like, you're talking about one of the best swimmers in the world. That you go to this, you train your whole life, you go to this, and then you finish 8th in your heat or whatever. We're talking about a sloppy transition. You want a sloppy transition? I'll get in the pool and show you trying to turn around, hit the wall, and go back the other way. Like this person might not be as good as the other 7, but they're still amongst the best in the world.
Katie Ledecky lost yesterday.
She won a silver medal, right?
Yeah.
And then the headline is that she lost.
Well, it's first loser. I mean, she's our best swimmer.
Just saying, it's interesting how it's framed for sure. Good to have those options this weekend, no doubt about it. Also, we need to, in the first segment, address what went down right at Williams-Brice Stadium. A banner went up, and then did a banner come down too? Is that the deal? Because
looks that way.
The athletics department are releasing a statement via Twitter. The colors on our new Williams-Brice Stadium banner did not come out as intended. We will work with our signage and printing partners to make the correct change. It's a huge welcome home banner. So this started with Steve Spurrier, right? It used to be a picture of Steve Spurrier, and then they replaced that once the Spurrier era was over with more of a generic player. I think it was Matrix Belton. By the way, his image was on there, but it was like the number 1, and it was meant to be kind of just a generic Gamecock football player sign. And now they put up the Palmetto State logo with welcome home, and it was a garnet banner in background, that is, and then the white logo of the state, and then basically a white and garnet welcome home print. But the garnet on the sign is a much different garnet than the sign right above it that has Williams-Brice Stadium. And there was a lot of reaction on social media yesterday. Bill, what do you make of what went down at Williams-Brice?
I mean, I saw when the banner went up. That was Saturday though, right?
I think this all happened yesterday. It might have been Saturday. It's all
I don't know.
blur.
I had a nice fun weekend, but it all runs together now. I'm not sure what day it
was. It was Saturday afternoon. It went up. I confirm.
And I saw it, and yeah, I thought it was more of a maroon color, but it's a banner, and I mean, I guess attention to detail should be a little bit better on my part and care more. I guess I was paying more attention to. I like the fact that it just seems like the message of welcome home is trying to be tied into all phases of the football program, and I like that concept of at least trying to tie in one message. So yeah, that's good. That'll work. And a matter of fact, it wasn't until much later at night that I was informed that apparently the banner had already been taken down. So that thing probably didn't stay up more than 2 hours, maybe 3 before the university.
I don't know, because I drove by. I saw the picture, and I was down that way, so we drove by it, took a picture, and we were talking about it and said yeah, the colors don't match exactly, but never thought that was going to be a big enough deal for it to have to come down.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
There's a brand palette, like exactly what garnet, what PMS color or hex color, all the specific printing colors. So how did this even happen?
Here's the question. It was a little darker. It was a little more Mississippi State-esque I'd almost call it maroon, or I'm not sure what Mississippi State necessarily calls their. I believe it would be maroon, but what Mississippi State calls their jerseys. I think that the outrage, Jen, seemed to come from the fact that it didn't match up with the sign above it.
Yeah.
Which you got to admit is a little bit harder. That sign's been out there; it's a little weathered. Like it didn't.
That's what we
match
thought.
up.
I thought it was because it had been sitting there for years and it just faded or whatever.
I don't know. Again, yes, I'm with you on the standpoint, Jen, of you. There is, and I would assume that the signage company probably took that color and maybe it was just darker. Maybe the print or the way that the sign, the way that canvas, I believe, is what it was. Just when you put that shade of garnet on it, I would assume. Again, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt when I say that I would assume they did exactly what you just said. They went to the little color-coded system. Whatever. I've seen this on message boards in the past when people talk about the exact shades, like whatever the letters. I think it's like PSS or something. The -228 is the actual like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah,
shade
you can go
that
online and find it. Mm-hmm.
So I would assume they did it. It's just, you know how it is. It just may have come out darker on the canvas they put it on, and then it didn't just match up with the sign above it.
So dramatic over the weekend for Gamecock football, even coming off of SEC Media Days where you would expect it to have been silent, but the all-conference team, preseason all-conference team came out, preseason predictions came out. We'll talk more about Oklahoma and Texas as we continue to roll on, as we digest that as well as we get going this morning. Glad you're a part of the show again, whether you're checking us out on the video stream, checking out the audio stream as well. We're up and rolling on Facebook, YouTube Live, on Twitter. The station handle is at 1075 The Game. That video stream sponsored by Buford Lending. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join us, you can call or text. It's the early game. It's 1075 The Game.
Is on air, online, on your phone or tablet, on the app, Alexa, Siri.
Drinking juice this morning, no coffee. Juice kick.
Yikes.
Is Gatorade juice?
Definitely not. Well, I think they actually have a new brand of it, or a new style that might be called that.
They do have a lot of products now.
A lot more than the old. I had two choices back in the day, orange or lemon lime.
Is that what it started with?
Yeah, I think it was lemon lime to begin with only. You guys hear grimaces my way. It's just I'm an old man. Back clenched up on me yesterday, struggling to.
Oops.
Yes, flipping kids in the ocean probably
Huh?
should be past those days.
Duck standoff. We see the duck goose standoff. As you can see, the two ducks are just holding down the fort against the army of geese.
Seriously?
I mean, look at all the.
There's a lot of geese.
Just
Do you feed them?
And actually, as I look at it, the food bowl is not there. They all seem very concerned. They all seem very confused. Let's see. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, what I believe to be 14 geese, 2 ducks.
Oh, sorry. We're not going back in yet. This just accidentally might get it deleted.
I want to just grab a collection of Garnet things from different brands and see if they actually do all exactly match.
They don't.
Well, to me, the sign on the stadium's always been a little red.
The
But again, they know what they're doing.
Williams Bryce one,
Yeah.
not the banner. Let's see.
Getting old is fun, huh, Chris? Shit.
That's a lot. It's not South Carolina. Things like this never happen at another school.
I'm sure it does. We just don't hear about it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, surely the Alabama A and the Arkansas A, I always confuse those two.
Patrick, when you were here on Friday, had they taken audition away?
Yeah. No, not on Friday. I found that out on Sunday morning.
Okay. Well, it sounds like horse crap. So it's obviously we've installed it and we've done nothing to balance the levels. So it sounds like I'm in a box. So that's super fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I don't like the whatever it is, ocean.
It's not my favorite. I know that it's basically all but free. So
Also, did y'all see the report by John Whittle last night? My favorite line, it's on the video board at Williams-Brice Stadium. The South Carolina football program will have a new video board for the 2021 season. The current video board was installed prior to 2012. The board has reached the end of its life.
we're about to head back in. Has it been that long? Or is he being smart?
Yeah, I guess with the end of its life.
Yeah, yes. All right, you guys are up.
Chad is fired up on the Facebook live stream. We can control a rover on Mars, but can't nail down a specific color. This is why it's so aggravating to be a South Carolina fan. He mentions the same thing happened with that SC logo debacle with Southern California. No way we should have lost that case. I would never say the two logos. Chad, feel your pain this morning, but I would also point out if that's the worst thing going down in life, you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
I do love when people do things like this. This right here is why it's tough being a South Carolina fan. This exact reason, a sign having to come down that's been up for half a day. That is why it's difficult to be a South Carolina fan. No one else could understand.
A lot of issues. A lot of issues there. Just if you're just joining us, sign goes up at Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday afternoon, and then a lot of pictures are taken. I think the plan was for everyone to celebrate, Bill, kind of what you were saying, right? The welcome home theme. I would say kind of the homogenous nature of messaging across the athletics department. We mentioned I don't know if we've seen this. We've seen football programs put it out. I don't know if we've seen athletic departments all go all in. No Clemson pun intended there, but go all in on the messaging for recruits or the slogan of the program to bring others in. And that's what was continuing to happen with Shane Beamer. And then people saw the sign and freaked out a little bit and said, that's not the right color. So it came down. And, yeah, Chris might be completely right. Says, I bet they'll just change it to black. I'm sure they probably just wish that that's what they would have done originally. And then you might have had people all ticked off that it wasn't garnet and it was black. All right, what you got there?
Well, I'll say this, and maybe this should make people happy. I feel like this is something in the past that the university would just be like, look, the sign's up, deal with it. Like, we're not going to It is what it is. We paid for the sign. It's up. It's fine. It's fine. It'll bake in the sun. It'll turn a little. It'll fade out a tad. It'll hit the color that we've been going for. It might just take 2 years. The fact that it came down within 4 hours, I feel like is an attention to detail thing where someone's like, yeah, we definitely can't have this. We need to have it correct. It needs to fit what we're trying to do, as opposed to just being like, look, it's fine. You guys will deal with it. You're not going to not buy tickets because of a sign on the stadium. You're not going to come to football games because of a sign on the stadium. You'll be okay. Deal with the sign that's up there now and welcome home.
6th in the East. Patrick, you mentioned if this is the worst thing, there are some other things that make it difficult being a South Carolina football fan or South Carolina fan at all. Finishing 6th out of the 17 division would be one of those things. That's where Carolina is predicted from SEC Media Days, that poll coming out after our show on Friday. Bill, surprised at all? To me, it was going to be between 5th and 6th, and it's between Carolina and Tennessee. And Tennessee gets the nod here. Not surprising from the SEC at large, especially knowing that Josh Heupel has a track record as a head coach. Shane Beamer doesn't. To me, that's what this comes down to. How do you read it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would assume it was, is that people just are unaware of what this coaching staff is for South Carolina. And so, look, it's a preseason ranking, but I think it's perfectly acceptable. Maybe if you want to be that person who says it gives the locker room a little bit more of a motivation when they see the rankings, that's fine. But yeah, it makes perfect sense that they would be ranked 6th and probably 13th out of 14 schools if you were to even break it down that way. As far as teams in the SEC, South Carolina's got a lot to prove, and we'll see if they're able to do it here early on in the season. Again, you look at that Week 4 game against Kentucky, and that's like the first test where we go, okay, where do you stand in this league? Because you should win the first 2, you should lose the third, and then you get that 4th game, and there's your kind of your measuring stick to know, all right, are you really 6th, or are you closer to being 3rd if you can beat or hold your own against Kentucky?
Patrick, what about you? Surprised at all? Gamecock 6th in the East?
No, I mean, when you break it down, it really was Tennessee. There's no reason they should be above Kentucky. Kentucky's been a better program for years. Missouri's going to get the edge because they had a pretty impressive freshman quarterback, I guess, and people are high on Eli Drinkwitz and him being able to make the most out of maybe a less talented roster. And, yeah, Tennessee, I guess it's a Josh Heupel thing. Maybe it's they have a little bit of security at the quarterback position because people seem to like Hendon Hooker. Again, I thought he stunk, but whatever. So it's not a big deal. Polls mean nothing, but am I surprised? No, there's no particular reason that an outsider looking at things right now would be high on South Carolina's prospects as a 2021-2022 football team.
Just to drive home what you're talking about preseason media polls, someone picked South Carolina to win the SEC. One person out of 135-ish, I think, media members that made the trip over to Birmingham. So keep that in mind. Also, it's just 7 votes that separated South Carolina and Tennessee for that 5th and 6th place. So a very close voting there. To me, it would have been surprising if the gap would have been very large, right? I'm not surprised that South Carolina goes in 6th. I think probably most of us who follow this program might have given them the nod over Tennessee, knowing the history of these 2 programs, the trajectory with the NCAA stuff hanging over Tennessee and all those transfers. But not surprised at all. Certainly not shocking. The rest of the Eastern Division going as you probably would have guessed. Georgia, a dominant number 1 with 124 of the first place votes out of basically 135. I think it might be 134. Yeah, 134 to be technically accurate there. Florida in 2nd place, just 7 first place votes. Kentucky not too far behind them. They only got a couple of first place votes, and then it's Missouri at 4, Tennessee 5, Gamecocks at 6, and Vandy at 7. On the western side, not surprised either. Alabama 130 out of 134 votes to win it. Texas A&M number 2, LSU 3, Ole Miss 4 might be the only slight surprise to me, with Auburn 5, Arkansas 6, and Mississippi State 7. So overall, Bill, about how you would have filled your preseason poll out for SEC standings on the east and the west side?
Yeah, almost exactly like that. I don't know if I'd have had any changes to what it was, and like I said, I was kind of thinking about that a little bit on Friday. I did see the projections come out and was just trying to kind of, in my mind, think how I would have voted had I been over there in Birmingham and how I would have changed it. And to be quite honest, there's not much that I would have done that would have been different.
From an individual standpoint, JJ Enagbare getting the first team all SEC honors, and he's the only Gamecock on he's the only Gamecock on the first team. Kevin Harris makes the second team. Nick Muse did not make one of those top 3 teams like he's done in some other polls out there, and no other Gamecocks on defense making the top 3 teams from a preseason media standpoint. What about
I thought Nick Muse did make third team.
Yeah, I thought he
double
did.
checking that now? Let me double check. Looking at third team offense. Yep, you're right. My fault on that. He did make third team tight end. The other tight ends, Jaleel Billingsley from Alabama, the second teamer. The first teamer, Jalen Weidermeyer from Texas A&M, who I think most of us remember last year, just against the Gamecocks and others. Pretty impressive. Tank Bigsby and Isaiah Spiller. Auburn's Tank Bigsby and A&M's Isaiah Spiller making first team over Kevin Harris. Zamir White from Georgia joining Harris on the second team from a running back standpoint. How about the quarterback? First team, not surprising. Second team, not surprising. We talked about that. So did you guys see this? Matt Corral from Ole Miss, the first teamer. JT Daniels, the second teamer. You guys want to guess the third team quarterback? Or if you know it, maybe give some others the opportunity to guess the third team all SEC quarterback. Patrick, do you know it?
No.
Okay, Bill, do you know it? Do you remember seeing it?
I did not. I didn't pay enough attention. I would guess Emory Jones, just because it seems like he's the guy who gets all the attention, and we're not sure why.
Yeah, I'm thinking because it's just again another year where it's not that great of a maybe Bryce Young.
Well, if you're here,
Both of those are
very
incorrect,
quickly,
by the
very
way.
quickly. Oh, you know what? Actually, Basilic is back and was freshman of the year. That would make the most sense. That's honestly, as I sit here, that's who I would have voted for. Is Connor Basilic is third team because
I would have voted all these guys that we're talking about before the guy who ended up getting it as well.
I know who you're going to say then.
Oh yeah, Patrick. What about you? Any idea?
I have an idea. I hope I'm wrong. Don't say it. Is it a 5-letter name?
Yeah.
It is a 5-letter
He
name.
is the spokesman for Milo Sweet Tea.
First and last. And this should really tell you the Alabama influence on SEC media. It is an Alabama event, and others are invited. And Auburn quarterback Bo Nix is the third team all SEC quarterback. Interesting in a lot of ways. I mean, we've done a Pro Football Focus, I think, has him down maybe like 8 to 10 as far as SEC quarterbacks rated across the country, and then he gets the third team guy. It shakes his head.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrible. I did hear during media days that almost made me question myself. Jordan Rodgers was talking about him, and he was just like, said something that I think Perry Ortha told us on this show, that Gus Malzahn would draw up plays and tell them exactly who to throw the ball to on that play. Like, the play would be drawn up, and this is your only read. Like, it's only designed to go to this guy on this play. And Jordan Rodgers was talking like, yeah, what Malzahn was doing wasn't working the first time, and it was confusing Bo Nix, and he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to make plays, and he's so talented, but he was just left out there to die sometimes. And it did have me reevaluating, like, wait, if they can come in and actually, like, Brian Harsin is a good quarterback coach and has done well with quarterbacks. If he can actually fix Bo Nix and make it easier for him, I could look pretty dumb by the end of the year just ripping on Bo Nix. But now the kid stinks. I'm standing by it.
He doesn't stink. He is wildly inconsistent. I think he has a lot of Jake Bentley in him. I feel like in that way, but he is more consistent in that he's really good at home and really bad on the road. If you go and look at his numbers, for reason it's hard to understand. For me to understand, I guess when you break it down more like that, I feel like Gus Malzahn has a much better track record with quarterbacks than Brian Harsin does. But maybe it's one of those things that the defense had caught up to what Gus Malzahn was doing, but clearly they didn't catch up to him when they went on the road to Auburn. And Bo Nix played well at times. To me, if this was a popularity contest, I think Bo Nix is the third most popular, like, name brand quarterback in right up there for sure. You could probably say he's maybe more so than JT Daniels. But
Is he
that's not
popular
what
in
this
Auburn?
is.
Like, there's no way.
Popular as far as known. I'm
Yeah.
not saying like the favorability rating is way up there, and even Auburn fans think he's going to be great. I think they know what they got at this point.
It's probably a lot like how South Carolina fans felt about Jake Bentley, I would think, because I mean, physically, Bo Nix does everything well. He's very athletic. He can make things happen with his feet. He's got a strong arm. It's just so many boneheaded plays. You just look at him and say, I don't know what you're doing out there, kid.
Well, I
That's
wonder.
similar.
The conversation, I guess, over there is, do they want him or do they want to see the new guy, TJ Finley, come in and take the job away from him and compete and be the starter? I mean, that would be the question there. Is they've got a new guy that's come in, and we'll see if TJ Finley is that guy who can come in and compete with Bo Nix. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because we saw here Colin Hill and what Mike Bobo tried to do with quarterbacks. How does Brian Harsin try to factor into that mix? And you're right, what kind of offense they run to take advantage of. Look, Auburn goes the way of Tank Bigsby this year to begin with. And maybe Bigsby and Bobo's offense has a monstrous year. Their offensive line, some people think it's going to be good. Some people question it. Will Friend is the offensive line coach. And, I know some Tennessee people who are like, yep, that guy was not a very good offensive line coach at Tennessee. That group underperformed last year. And now he's down in Auburn where they've got to step up and be a little bit better. And Tank Bigsby's going to be the guy regardless of what Bo Nix does.
Well, I think we all think Tank Bigsby is going to have a good year. Kevin Harris had a great year last year, but that didn't mean the Gamecock offense had a great year. And they're going to need a lot more than Tank Bigsby to win, especially the upper echelon games and pulling the upsets and knowing where they're predicted in the SEC media poll as well. Like you don't pay Brian Harsin to come in and take over for Gus Malzahn to finish fifth in the West. Sorry, I mean Ole Miss predicted above Auburn right now has to have a bunch of Auburn fans ticked off. And also, I don't know if you feel good about LSU's third team quarterback coming in and being your starting quarterback. That's that position they're in right now over at Auburn with Mike Bobo and company. And I know a lot of Gamecock fans will be watching that situation very intently and would not feel bad to see the Auburn offense struggle this year. 803-404-6100 is the number if you would like to weigh in on the program. Would love to have you. Anonymous texter says, I look at the shirt color on the rack before I buy and wear it. Talking about the Gamecock sign that went up, the welcome home sign that went up on Williams-Brice Stadium. I don't know if you can do that on how massive is that sign? Do we ever get I remember when it first went up, we got an official dimensions on that sucker, and it was massive. I think more than 100 feet or whatever it is. I don't know, 80 feet. It is. I don't know if they have those hanging on the racks at the sign stores. I don't think that's how that works. You're listening to the early game here. It's 107.5. Did you watch the, I guess it's men's soccer? Oh, no, it's not even men's soccer in the Olympics. Now it's Gold Cup. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's what they're playing in. USA is not in the Olympics.
Team USA didn't even make the Olympics in the men's side?
No. They didn't make it.
Gotcha. Devastating.
Patrick, you still watching rugby?
No, I'm watching swimming now.
That dude, the guy for Argentina, I had to reset my TV because it was not getting good service. Just went around the left end, and I don't know how far a rugby field is, but he went the distance. Dude's got some speed. Time for somebody to look him up. And
it's 7 people on the field right now.
I don't know. I don't know. I had to reset the little fire stick.
I like watching that because there's 15-man rugby and 7-man rugby. They call it sevens, and it's like a lot more plays are made on that field because they got room to work with. I like watching that better.
Yeah, that dude he broke a tackle too. Guy got him around the ankles and he just shrugged him off and took off.
America had a guy, I don't know if he still plays, named Carlin Isles, who was like a 4-2, 40 guy on our rugby team. He was awesome. Let's see.
Congratulations. Todd agrees with you about Auburn. Jockey. Todd, the Alabama fan,
I was
doesn't
gonna say the
have
huge
any
Alabama fan agrees that Auburn's overrated.
thinks Bo Nix thinks.
Yep, America's got the fastest man in rugby.
How about Ron from Lake Marion sneaking in on the YouTube live stream now? Love it. Got a picture there from the swamps of Four Hole Swamp. Anthony, well done, sir. Well done. Yeah, just saw. I didn't see any of the skateboarding. You guys see any of it? Apparently, two 13-year-old girls won gold and silver, and the bronze medalist was 16.
Wait, so skateboarding's over already?
Street skateboarding already over. Sorry, you missed it, Patrick.
That's a shame. Did Nigel Houston win gold for us?
I'm sorry. You know a skateboarder's name?
I know lots of skateboarders' names. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. No,
Nigel Houston has been a very popular skateboarder since he was like 14 years old.
no clue.
Let me look at his. I bet he's got like 5 million followers. Yeah, he's got 5 million followers on Instagram.
Wow. Well, the Kardashians are pretty popular too, and I'm good not knowing that.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different. Clearly, what the skateboarders do is very impressive.
Kardashians. No.
Nope.
Took both golds in street skateboarding, men's and women's, even though the women's winner was 13, the runner-up was 13.
Yeah, I'm reading his caption right now. Man, I'm sorry, guys. I'm bummed I didn't do better yesterday. I feel like I let a lot of people down.
What did he finish?
I'm looking just at his Instagram caption. I didn't see his actual result. But was it? What I heard was that they were just doing one trick. Like they'd go out there and do a trick, and then that was it. Whereas in actual skateboarding competitions, they'll skate around for like 2 minutes, and then you'll like rate their run overall.
Yeah, me dude. I feel like I'm in Back to the Future, just reading the story at all. Like if Biff had this one in his almanac, I would not have believed it. Didn't even medal. Travis is all over this. He's our correspondent here. 5 tricks. 1 trick, but 5 times. So they could only do 1 trick, it sounds like, but they had 5 attempts.
Yeah. I think Nigel Houston's known to be the best skateboarder out there right now, but this maybe that was not like the ideal style or whatever for him.
All right, we got a caller about old Bo Nix here. We've talked about it before. Not exactly a banner year for returning SEC quarterbacks. A lot of programs with question marks. Number 1, Matt Corral. Number 2, JT Daniels. After that, you got Connor Bazelak coming back from Missouri. Is there anyone else that is relatively proven? Bazelak just coming into his 2nd season. Bill is number 4. Would you say there's anybody relatively proven? Certainly, Bo Nix has the most experience coming back from Auburn, but his results leaving a lot to be desired. We mentioned just a little bit earlier how he was Knicks was the third string or the third team all SEC preseason all conference pick at SEC days. There's just not a lot of others to choose from. Would you say Mississippi State? I guess with who they got there.
Aren't they gonna have a new quarterback?
Is it Will Rogers? Is that his name? He kind of popped
They got
in.
a bunch of them. They
He took over for the Stanford transfer and the whole thing. Yeah, and then you got Emory Jones down in Florida, who is to be good, but hasn't been a full-time quarterback. To me, it's just not a lot of guys that are proven. The cycle, it goes like this every several years. You feel like either you got a lot of returning guys or you got a lot of question marks. This year's a lot of question marks. But I would never have thought the Bo Nix would have gotten the third team nod there, even knowing how much Alabama influence there is at SEC Media Days. Daniel would like to weigh in on this thing on the Love Chevy phone lines right now at 803-404-6100. Morning, Daniel.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Good. You?
Doing good. I really enjoy the show. Yeah, I went to Auburn, graduated from there, and so thought I'd just call and give my opinion. I don't think I'm a little surprised Bo Nix is the third team, although it's not surprising given Auburn's influence in the SEC. But I think Auburn fans are hopeful because Gus Malzahn doesn't have a proven track record with quarterbacks, at least at Auburn. I think Cam Newton kind of fell into his lap. But other than that, he's really never developed guys. So I would say that would be the primary reason Auburn fans are still hopeful Bo Nix can do something because, I guess Malzahn couldn't do anything. So the hope is Harsin can come in and change him.
Right, but he's going to be doing it with Mike Bobo, right? How is that going to operate from your perspective?
I would say the Auburn fans are cautiously optimistic in saying Bobo's time at Georgia is what we're going to get and not his time at South Carolina.
I can see that, Daniel. Appreciate the Auburn perspective on Bo Nix at this point. Bill, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. Certainly, Bo Nix has got. We've seen some, as you guys mentioned, we've seen some good moments from him. I think it's similar to kind of the same questions at South Carolina right now. What is this offense that Brian Harsin and Mike Bobo try to employ at Auburn to take advantage of the league's best running back in Tank Bigsby, and then a questionable quarterback in Bo Nix. Bo Nix at least we know what his body of work is. We don't really have a good body of work for Luke Doty. 2.5 games doesn't count in my opinion. So with Bo Nix, you've got 2 years there that you can kind of look back on. But I would ask, what are you going to do with Bo Nix? What are you going to do with that offense to utilize again Tank Bigsby and to take the pressure off of Bo Nix? That can really make Bo Nix be a lot better quarterback if you're just turning around and handing it off to a guy like Bigsby.
No doubt about it. You get that running game going. That is what Daniel was talking about. When Georgia had the run game going, which they usually did back in Mike Bobo's days, and it really could make your quarterback that much more effective. I think Gamecock fans would point out, hey, Kevin Harris ran the ball pretty well last year, more than 1,000 yards in 10 SEC games. Still didn't really help out the passing game. You got to have some wide receivers out there helping to make plays as well. And that's, if I was Mike Bobo, that's probably what I'd raise my hand and say that just didn't have enough of those guys. So it might come down to more about the guys on the outside making plays for Bo Nix than anything else, but also making a poorly timed mistake that we've seen, I think, in his career has plagued him a lot. Oklahoma, Texas, SEC rumors, speculation certainly not dying down over the weekend. And why did we come up with this? What's the
15.
Patrick, can you tell me the difference between pods and divisions? What are pods? That's something that had me ticked off all weekend. Why can't we just call them divisions? Pods. Hour 2 coming up next.
This is Todd Ellis, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game, WNK.
My nose decided it was going to run. Apparently.
Like as they're about to be born, Josh? They just have a bunch of pods at the bottom of the ocean. Hey, Travis.
I would be so curious to try and run at a vault on full speed, jump off that springboard, and just see what happens.
It would have to be water I'd be landing in.
I wouldn't have the first idea. I assume you fall flat on your face.
I would go. No, I wouldn't even go face first. I would go like chest first into the into the, what do you call it? They called it the table last night, or like off table or on table. I think the little.
Oh, where you put your hands on?
Yeah, I would probably just hit square right in my chest. Arms would go over. Ooh.
I would definitely be scared about like breaking my neck, landing on my head or something like that. That would be my biggest fear.
Yeah, to have to get one of those foam pits. That would have to be the landing spot for me. The old trampoline parks that I go to with my kids these days.
Yeah, I'm just watching them warm up right now, and I just can't understand how they control their bodies like that.
That is separate, Craig. Eastover and Columbia. Your spelling of Columbia, very exotic, sir.
Craig's just waking up.
I think technically you have to say where your tower is, like the actual origination of the signal, and ours for the game physically stands in Eastover. Morning, Trey. Hanging out with all my friends this morning right now. Yeah, that was a cool video. Craig, you're already blowing glass before 7 a.m. Good for you, sir. Good for you. Yeah, the Texas Longhorn Network is an ESPN deal, same as the SEC network. It would just be kind of absorbed. That's not a big consideration here at all, I don't think. It just hasn't been picked up by that many providers. Certainly not as many as they had hoped for. I think we'll see that as kind of like trying to think of another TV network that didn't. I think Mark Cuban had one for a while. Was it HD Net or something? What's this, Travis? I don't understand where you're going with this weather commercial. Going to be shown where? And then what is it? A commercial advertising? Now, is this the super conference mess, Chris, you're talking about here? I think this is where that conversation gets a little out of control. You guys see some of that, the super conference talk that Ohio State and whoever else, Michigan, everybody, basically, the SEC had talked to pretty much everybody.
Well,
where I saw that came from was Barstool, and I immediately said, "Oh, well, this is not the Houston Chronicle."
Right. Well, what did they say? Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and I mean, are they kicking teams out? It's not a super conference if Vanderbilt's in it.
It's not a super conference if Vanderbilt is not in or is in.
Is in it.
Oh, this game ended?
Good to know. Good to know, Travis. Thanks for the heads up on. Yeah, that's why it's not jumping right into the super conference conversation this morning.
Well, they don't like break news. They probably read it from somewhere, right? They usually embed.
I think they said. I feel like anybody right now is just kind of getting, I don't say out of hand, but just basically saying, "Oh yeah, this conference is talking to these 4 teams or this 6." Nobody knows. All right, women's water polo is coming up.
Yeah, if I type in SEC Super Conference, Sports Illustrated is the first.
Oh, the banker. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you can sit off to the side. I just need a nice modulated voice. Oh yeah, Cleveland Guardians. Y'all saw that?
Yeah.
What? Oh, the baseball team. Yeah.
Is that deal or no deal? Was there a banker, like a secret banker? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. They would make an offer. I could be wrong.
Correct. Deal or no deal. It's a game I'm feeling ready to play.
All right, so we're going to do a regular schedule this hour. Guys, try to
Yes.
break around 10.
Yes, sir. Yep. It's a little too much to try to do two.
10-4. It's a good question, Chris. No one knows, but I think from a money standpoint, it still seems like 2025 is the likely timeline. Hello, Monday. Glad you're a part of the program. Hope your week's off to a good start. We'll do our best to try to keep it headed in that direction. Full house on the program this morning. Tim Hill, Bill Gunter, Patrick Perrette, and Jen producing back in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown Columbia. Gamecocks predicted to finish 6th in the East. That came out after our show on Friday from over at SEC Media Days. To me, not necessarily a bad thing either, Bill. We've seen Gamecock teams overachieve. We've seen them underachieve as it pertains to predictions from SEC Media Days. When you're a new head coach like Shane Beamer coming in with taking over a program that's lost 8 games each of its last 2 seasons, not a surprise. And I think what the program would prefer at this point is to have a surprisingly good year as opposed to disappoint to any kind of expectation that might be too lofty. The Vegas over-under for total wins is at 3.5. So it's not like Gamecock fans haven't heard this from a national or regional perspective before. And being slighted, being put behind Tennessee, I think certainly gives Gamecock an extra chip on the shoulder that they're used to having in a lot of ways from an SEC East perspective. Now, I think the more interesting part, Bill, about where we sit right now is what Josh said about possible SEC expansion. With over the weekend, no news came out that made me change my mind at all that Oklahoma and Texas is not going to happen. I guess the Big 12 Executive Committee met with the presidents from both Oklahoma and Texas, and the Big 12 commissioner described it as a cordial meeting, and they're going to have more. And basically that just makes it sound like they're getting ready to work this thing out. Josh says whatever happens will be tough on Carolina in football. However, it will just mean more. LOL. That last part sarcastic, I think. But this is what we talked about and why I think we did the poll question last week. Do you want Oklahoma and Texas in the league? I think it was 65% that said no. If you're looking to win more games, you don't bring Oklahoma and Texas in. If you're looking to make your conference stronger overall, you certainly do. How do you see it from the Gamecock perspective as we sit here today? And then now that I've been able to digest it a little bit more, the possibility seems more likely. My brain has been able to kind of take the next step to, okay, what do they do now with divisions or what have been called pods? And Patrick, can you help me figure out why four different divisions are called pods and why that term ever came up at all?
It's the same thing, right?
The NFL doesn't have pods. Why is it pods? I don't get it.
That's what I was gonna say. The NFL has just divisions, teams of 4 in there, 5, and yet it's still divisions. So
that's what they've always said, though, is moving to a pod system. I don't know why that's always been the terminology.
Weird. That's just weird.
Because nobody has stepped up to fight it. But the guy has arrived. Tim Hill is here.
I'm here
to stand up and fight the pod system name.
We had pods in grade school. Like, it was an open area and like 4 or 6 classrooms, and then you had the open space, and then there was another pod. So that's all I'm seeing is elementary school with this pod name.
Okay, that does sound elementary to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just why you? Hey, but we never called them halves, right? The eastern half and the western half. We called them divisions. Division, you can have as many as you want. As far as I think that's how that word works. It's dividing something. Why not divide it up into 4 instead of 2? And I'm still good with divisions. Yeah. Bill, what do you make of where we sit right now, Oklahoma and Texas, the likelihood? Then there were reports out there. We didn't really even get into it in hour number 1 because from where I sit right now, the contacting Ohio State and Michigan and the whole thing and coming up with a 30-team super conference or whatever was put out there seemed awfully ridiculous and not near the legitimate reporting that we saw in Oklahoma and Texas, and then the response that we saw as well last week.
Yeah, I still think we're heading to 4 16-team conferences. Again, Friday I was traveling a little bit, so I was in the car and reading a lot, just different theories and ideas. And at this point, I think the question becomes, can the AAC get involved some way, shape, or form and work their way into almost basically replacing the Big 12? Because the way it is starting to look, obviously, is the Big 12 is going to be picked kind of clean here. You're going to have some opportunities for the 3 Texas schools, Texas Tech, Baylor, and TCU. Maybe it opens the door now for them to actually, instead of going to the Pac-12, maybe join the AAC, and all of a sudden you get some more rivalries there with Houston and SMU already being in that particular conference, and maybe that conference is able to grow. But it does feel that we're heading for Texas and Oklahoma at some point this week, to probably today is what is expected, to announce their intentions not to re-sign their media grant of rights in 2025. And as I've read, that there's several steps they have to take to basically leave the league. That is the very first one. And that once that domino falls today, it could be a series of announcements there where they are not returning, and that culminates in about a week or 2 with the announcement of them coming to the SEC. You saw basically Texas A&M over the weekend putting out a statement. Texas A&M is supposed to have a meeting later today to look at not necessarily their options. I think they'll leave the SEC, but I guess they're just having a meeting to get together and all complain to one another, because I think I saw it as a legal meeting and to consider
contractual.
All options.
I was
contractual options and the whole thing.
So what, they're going to talk about how to sue Texas and not let them come into the SEC, or?
No, the official temper tantrum will be at 6 o'clock today for Texas A&M, I think, where they will threaten to sue everybody and throw their money around and the whole thing. And they'll put up a poster of Greg Sankey, and they'll all throw darts at him, not liking the SEC commissioner for stiff-arming Texas, because that's how Texas A&M thinks of themselves. But I've heard their fan base described as a cult and the whole thing. The Texas A&M Texas game isn't played for a reason. And it's not because they're both rational, very logical fan bases on both sides that where cooler heads will always prevail. There's a reason why that thing integrated before our eyes, and that will be part of the massive challenge that Greg Sankey and future SEC commissioners will have if Texas comes into the league along with Texas A&M. But I did see, Bill, I think it was worth noting that I think it was the Texas A&M president. I don't know. They have a chancellor. I think they got all kinds of red tape going on over there. One of the guys way up in Texas A&M has some power, put something out as well after the news of this meeting came, which basically read to me like they're going to threaten to leave the SEC. And then the official put something out and said, we're just having our meeting to discuss our options, and we look forward to a long and prosperous relationship with the SEC, or something to that effect, basically saying we're not planning on jumping ship because of this news. We are going to discuss some options that they have, and I don't know what it'll be. It would be interesting to be a fly on the wall for sure during that meeting, and then how they move forward. To me, this will be basically the leadership listening to the big money people and saying, yep, we understand, it stinks, we got it, but guess what? This is how things have to move forward for us. Otherwise, they're going to be out on their own, right? I mean, that would be an easy trade for the SEC. No one in the SEC would vote to keep Texas A&M and not allow Oklahoma and Texas in, just from a conference strength standpoint, right? That's an easy. All right, see you. Get out of here. You've been here, 10 years? Move on. Go find your own conference there, Texas A&M. You need us more than we need you. That's how I see the current SEC climate. You guys with me on this or no?
Yeah, they're like, you're lucky. You go hang out Texas Tech, losers. You're lucky that we took you in Texas, and then the rest of the Texas schools are all going to go play at a mid-major together. Congratulations. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah, that's kind of – nobody's leaving the SEC. They're not jumping ship, and the SEC will have no problem finding replacements. But it is a situation. I think the Texas A&M thing, the Texas A&M athletic director, I think it was yesterday or maybe Saturday, coming out and basically admitting, hey, we'll be ready. All our programs will be ready. Everybody will be ready. Players, coaches, boosters, we're all ready. And then goes on to basically say that that this is his exact quote is, "This is going on my 10th year in the SEC." Talking about being an athletic director. He was athletic director previously at Mississippi. And he said, what makes the SEC the best conference, and we've got to protect that. So now it's kind of, they're backtracking on what they said. I think today will be a big get together and cry and whine and moan fest down there in Bryan and College Station. But at the end of the day, they're gonna buck up and go right on it. And I'll be honest, if you read some of the stuff that came out this weekend, and again, so many articles, so many things flying out from national writers, I don't think it's a given that Texas A&M may fall right in line. And when the vote comes to add Texas and Oklahoma, I'm kind of leaning on the side of, don't be shocked if it's unanimous. If it's 14 votes all saying, yes, let's add it. Because I can see the SEC saying, look, we're doing this. This is happening. You don't like it, yeah, go anywhere else. You'll be fine. We'll be fine. So go ahead and vote against this and see what happens. And then you get all 14 schools all of a sudden voting unanimously. Yeah, let's make this happen, whether they want to or not. Texas A&M's may not get the no vote. They may just get the sheet of paper with the yes.
Yeah.
Vote yes, or yes.
Yeah.
All of them will know, right? Like before the vote even happens, everyone's going to know what the result will be. These athletic directors and everyone, they're talking to each other. So the only reason Texas A&M would vote no is just for their fans or for the look of it.
Yeah.
And protest.
That's where Greg Sankey might be. Okay, we'll give you guys the no vote. Okay, well, we'll give it to you. We'll give it to your fan. But you guys need it. Okay, we'll give that to you. Missouri, no, sorry, you don't get no vote. You're not bringing up enough money. You don't bring it up. You're voting yes. Blink 17 times if it's no. Okay, we're moving forward. That's kind of how I presented the South Carolina case originally. Like, yeah, Oklahoma and Texas aren't going to give you a stronger path to a championship, especially in football. But what else are you going to do? To me, this is a strong conference getting stronger, and part of the strength of the conference is everyone moves in the same direction. 803-404-6100. Would love to hear your thoughts this morning. Just getting rolling in hour number 2. Plenty of Olympic stuff to discuss over the weekend. as well. July, maybe the busiest July we've ever seen when it pertains to the college football discussion and this Oklahoma and Texas and SEC thing. And then you throw in an Olympics that shouldn't even be that should have happened more than basically a year ago. We got that going down with the Team USA basketball losing yesterday to France, kind of headlining things over the weekend. You're listening to the early game. It's 107.5.
AAA. It was a nice 92 degrees yesterday. It's going to get hotter, though. It's going to get a lot hotter, and I hope your air conditioner is ready to handle that. If not, today is the day. Don't wait any longer. Call AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. Roy and Dana Finley pride themselves on their work, on making sure that your family is comfortable and treating you like one of their own. They're going to make sure that your heating and air unit is working as we head into the very hot days of August and September. So don't wait around. Call AAA Heating and Air today. 803-677-1500 is the phone number. Let them get out there, inspect the unit, make sure it's working. If they find an issue, don't worry. They're going to make sure you're taken care of. They'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit, then work with you. 0% financing, no money down, as they try and make sure you get a unit that works. And the best part, they follow that up with a 15-year parts and labor warranty to make sure you're secure and covered for the next several years. A lot of great reasons to use AAA Heating and Air, from their family-style approach to making sure you're comfortable to helping you financially and making sure that it doesn't break the budget. 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
That is prime witness relocation program right now, the witness protection program.
Yeah, I think we got the nice
Good
setup.
stuff.
Yeah, just off to the side. Be right back.
Beautiful.
Sneezing and all kinds of stuff this morning.
These gymnasts, when they're waiting for their next event, just are all on the side, just walking around on their hands. It's insane.
Staying loose.
They're just warming up with handstands, like things I could never dream of doing.
Yep.
Just walking up and down the aisles, and
some people are just like that, man. I had a buddy in college like that. Crazy.
these guys are all just like 5'3" and just yoked.
Yoked?
Yeah, low to the ground and just not a shred of fat on their bodies. Yeah.
Oh.
We've only got 4 gymnasts.
I always wonder, were they naturally built to have that stature of not being very tall, or is it the intense training that sort of almost stunts their growth a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a natural thing. I was watching just briefly last night. Simone Biles came off, and one of her teammates was giving her a hug or something, and Biles came up to like the teammate's chest. She was like, so, I mean, she was pretty tall.
Okay.
I think Simone Biles is under 5 feet, right?
Yeah, I think she's 4'11", something like that. I just think it's much more difficult to do everything that they do when you're that much taller. It's kind of like, I mean, you said you experienced with baseball coaches, like trying to project body types and the whole. I think it's similar in gymnastics. You know, if like a girl starts getting too tall, I think coaches are like, not gonna work.
So gymnasts are always young too, right? Like you're done.
Yeah.
So how do you know? Yeah.
They're mid-20s. It's over.
Yeah, that's a crazy part, huh? I
Yeah,
guess that's like
she's
skateboarding.
4'8".
4'8". Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that is insane. But I know that apparently like every sport's kind of like that. Like Michael Phelps apparently has just the perfect body to be an elite swimmer, just like long arms, shorter legs or whatever. So it's just kind of built for him to be.
He can win just by reaching his arm out a little, his
Right.
arms is a little bit
The
longer.
feet are like flippers, Patrick. Don't forget that.
There you go.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I think he's confirming to me like the best athletes usually don't make the best analysts. Like to him, he's like, yeah. I think it's like so simple for them usually. It's
Mhm.
difficult for them to break it down to the average person. Like, yeah, just swim faster, man. Why don't you just swim faster?
And they don't make the best coaches either.
Right.
I think Wayne Gretzky was one of the worst hockey coaches ever.
You know what? I didn't even think. Did Wayne Gretzky coach hockey?
Yeah.
Not long. Did he coach in Phoenix, where he's part of the ownership?
Yeah, because they'd just be like, why don't you just pass it to the guy over here? And like, well, I didn't see him. Not everybody sees everything like you did.
Yeah, that's what I think. I was reading something.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that recruiting thing about Spurrier and how one high school coach was shocked, like he was actually coaching quarterbacks, like in there, X's and O's, like fundamentals. And most head coaches just don't do that. That's what set Spurrier apart, just that he was a quarterback nerd that way, I think. I could see Tom Brady being that way, right? As opposed to who are the more like physically gifted quarterbacks, like Josh Allen would probably be a terrible quarterback coach, seems like to me.
Yeah.
Just rip it, man. What's your problem, Brett Favre? Just throw it harder.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think I could see Tom Brady being a good coach. He would demand so much out of you, though. Not everybody would be able to play.
Oh, no doubt. But I mean, just the ability to relay the information.
Mm-hmm. I think Rodgers would be a good coach too. He just doesn't care about football enough, and he'd never do it. But he's so smart.
He would be the Phil Jackson of football coaches, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Like,
When you hear him start breaking down things over the course of a play, you're like, wow, he really does see things at an insanely high level.
Does that mean DeChambeau would be a good golf coach?
Yeah. We're coming back in.
A golf professor.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you do have a phone call. Yeah, guess right.
Gamecock Frank, Cool Care Heating and Air text line. If expansion in the SEC means that Texas A&M gets off Carolina's schedule annually and having more rotation, then I'm all for it. I just wish someone else besides Texas was involved. And Neil weighing in on the news, the latest too, by the way, that the Big 12 Executive Committee met with presidents from Oklahoma and Texas. Cordial meeting, and those discussions will be ongoing. To me, and that means, yeah, this thing is going to happen. It is down the road. They're just working out the details and the money. Neil says the moves by Oklahoma and Texas seem kind of desperate. If you look back over the history of conference realignment, there has not been a single team, Neil says, that has improved their product on the field or increased their success after they switched conferences. There just is not a good track record to leave a conference where you're running it. It doesn't seem like a wise move. Bill, you want to go first on Neil's take there?
I mean, I guess Florida State is the one. They were an independent and went into the ACC, and obviously, what did they go on, Tim? Was it a 26 game win streak, 33 game win streak?
It was a bunch. Patrick, do you know who snapped the ACC win streak for Florida State? Which ACC school beat them first in football?
No, Maryland.
No.
Oh, we've done this before, and you said Maryland, I think. Actually, now that you threw that out there, Bill, you wanna tell them?
It was a Thursday night game in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they snapped it to Warwick Dunn on the final play, and he ran up the middle and didn't get to the goal line. It was about a 6 yards out. And they did that little play where they would direct snap it to Warwick Dunn, and he took off up the middle and got tackled at about the 2 on a Thursday night. It was.
Never felt older, by the way, listening to you go. It was a Thursday night.
And it was. I remember it well. It was like a night of. It was right around Halloween, somewhere in that area, because it was. I'd come home from like whatever it was, 7th, 8th, 9th grade basketball tryouts, and was watching that game with my dad. That was the Thursday night game of the week. Funny how where we've arrived with Thursday night games, right? We used to have really good Thursday night games, and now we're down to. I think AAC games, but yep, that was the Virginia game. I'm trying to now. Here's the question, Tim: Can you name? I can picture him. Actually, I think his name just came to me. Can you name the coach of Virginia in that game that snapped?
Was Al Groh? You can tell me.
I don't think so.
It was before Al Groh. A long time.
Yeah.
A successful head coach there that is going to tick me off. Oh, and we looked up Herman Moore and Sean Moore last time, and those are the proteges, and they were up to national prominence. The name is not coming to my head right now, though. Go ahead and throw it out there.
I want to say, and now I'm going to confirm here, but I want to say is it George? Is it Welsh or Walsh?
Yep. Welsh.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. In 1995, let's see, Virginia was the first. It was under him that they were the first ACC team to defeat Bobby Bowden after Florida State had started 29-0 in the conference.
The year Patrick was born. Continue to make us feel all this one.
So does this all circle back to yes, people have gotten better from going through?
Florida State was already a good football program. I think you can come back with, right? And again, this text from Neil would come back with, well, Florida State was already really good. I mean, really good for a long time, but they kept being really good, I think is the point, Bill. Like, they're undefeated in the ACC. Bobby Bowden admitted after he retired that their path to the national championship was easier than a lot of SEC programs. They continued to be nationally relevant and win championships, even switching conferences, or you could argue going to the Big East, and then the ACC and the whole day. Virginia Tech coming to the ACC certainly hasn't hurt their product. I don't know where it's hurt a bunch of products here that Neil's coming. I mean, Bill, wouldn't you argue? I saw it in my lifetime. I'm 43. The Gamecocks joining the SEC. I get it. The last couple of years have been tough, but we can't forget what happened between 2010 and 2013. The best run in school history in the SEC, all the facilities that have been improved, how different Columbia looks as we sit here right now than it looked, in 1991 before they became a member of the SEC. I think you got to give Southeastern Conference some credit there, or the Gamecocks joining the conference the rightful due.
In 1992, I had just turned 10 years old. So there's a level to this that I can't speak about, but maybe people a little bit older Gamecock fans can kind of go back to that time. And I've heard a lot about how far South Carolina was behind the rest of the SEC, not just in terms of talent, but facilities and really just understanding, the league as a whole. And so there is, I think, an element, and we saw that a little bit with Texas A&M and Missouri, even from the get-go, but it's hard to argue Texas A&M is going to be a top 10 team this season. They'll open the season as a dark horse candidate to potentially make the college football playoff. I believe I saw something over the weekend, again, a lot of articles over the weekend that I was trying to read, but I believe I saw something where it's likely that they will be favored in all of their games except one. Are you aware of which one game that will be? It's pretty easy.
Alabama.
Yes, and that game is in College Station, if I read the article correctly. So, I think Texas A&M has actually improved its situation, but certainly it's taken them a little bit of time. Missouri's won 2 SEC East titles. You can make the case that Missouri's improved their program, right? Winning an SEC East, just winning the SEC East, kind of on par with being able to win the Big 12. I mean, I'd say Missouri's program's maybe, but I don't know. The results maybe aren't there, but I'd say they're a more dangerous program. That's a good question on Missouri. You guys want to weigh in on that one? Are they better?
Yeah, I don't remember them enough.
I think they're more relevant. Let's put it that way. But maybe that's an SEC bias thing. I don't think their program's much different now as it was before they joined the SEC. But this is kind of a new history question, I feel like, from Neil. Like, are you going to say, are you going to go back to the Big 8 or the Southwest Conference, right? I mean, Oklahoma has clearly done just fine being in the Big 12. That wasn't their original conference. This is just an evolution thing. And I feel like there are always people who are going to stand there and raise their fist to the sky and say, nope, no change. Do not change. All change is bad. I don't see that. I get it that it's going to be a lot different for sure. And that breaking that down And to me, coming to the realization that you could break things down into 4 divisions in the SEC, you play everybody in your division, you play 2 other teams in a different division every single year, and then you rotate the other teams, and you could have home and away games against every team in the conference at least once every 4 years. To me, that's ideal, and it can be done, and it solves a current problem. It seems like the obvious way to go. 803-404-6100. We'll continue to discuss. Love to hear more of your thoughts. Again, you can call or text. We see on the Love Chevy phone lines. We'll do that next when we come back. It's the early game. It's 107.5 again.
It was quite the weekend. Was in Charleston on Friday, had a wedding on Saturday here in town, and then was on the lake all day yesterday. So needless to say, getting great nights of sleep, pretty imperative each and every night, to being able to pick it up and do it again the following day. It'll be actually pretty important. I get a great night's sleep again tonight, just to kind of continue to recover. You need the same. When you have a big weekend, you need a great night of sleep to be able to recover and get ready to go the next day. Sleep Number offers you that opportunity. I put the Sleep Number setting on 55, and I'm ready to go each and every day. However, right now there's a deal, but it's wrapping up today. You need to go to a Sleep Number store to check it out. Save up to $1,200 on select Sleep Number 360 smart beds and adjustable bases, plus special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com for details. But this deal ends today. Again, save $1,200 on select Sleep Number 360 smart beds and adjustable bases. But again, the deal ends today. You can discover proven quality sleep at 2 different stores. One in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 notch road across from Sand Hills Mall. Again, the website, you can always visit them at sleepnumber.com. Make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like.
Yeah, Troy, Miami is the best example of that, I think, for sure. But did that happen because of the ACC? I think that's difficult case to make. Yeah, see, that's part of the super conference discussion that don't want to have. I saw someone mention Clemson over the weekend and just turned.
It would be probably be Oklahoma State. Just grab Oklahoma State. That'd probably be the deal that would get worked out. Oklahoma brings Oklahoma State and just roll from there. It's water polo is I don't know who I'm watching. Hungary versus ROC. Can anybody guess what country is ROC?
I haven't been paying attention.
Give me a sport.
Water polo. Women's water polo.
It's
Republic of Croatia?
No. It's the Russian Olympic Committee.
Oh, yeah. Why is it called the Russian Olympic Committee? That's ridiculous.
Because Russia is not allowed to officially have a team because they all cheat.
So there has to be an
Olympics.
It's
like in the last Olympics, so they just had the what are they called? The Olympic athletes of Russia. They were OAR, Olympic athletes from Russia.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Because they're the Russian Olympic Committee, we now know they're not cheating.
Right. No, it's just like not state sponsored or whatever. I don't know exactly what the deal is.
Hey, you're not paying attention, but I don't know exactly what the deal is.
Well, I know they're Russia.
Apparently, the Australian swim coach just did something that disgraced the game. Or that was 8 hours ago. Sorry, maybe that's just coming in on our television.
Even the timeout doesn't look comfortable in water polo. Like I would think the timeout you'd get a chance to rest. Like you're clinging to the wall in the pool. There's not like a standing area.
It'd be a beach whale on the side. Everybody just laid out.
I've played water polo. It's very difficult.
There's 7 seconds left. It's tied 10-10. Hungary. 5 seconds. 4. They throw it down low. The goalie's got it. And I don't know if we just tie it or we go to penalty kicks.
Oh, penalty shots are fun. We had a water polo team at Wagner, so we had a water polo pool, and we tried to play like the lacrosse. Some of the lacrosse guys tried to play one time, and you're basically just your head's out of the water like this, and you're just throwing the ball with your wrists. Like we can't get our bodies out of the water, but we're just tossing it like limp-wristed. And it was like you couldn't be a good goalie either. I tried to play goalie for a little bit, and I'm just sitting here trying to like swat the ball like my head's barely over the water.
Well, and that's what I was just watching, like the Hungarian goalkeeper.
Let's do radio, huh?
Yeah. Guys, are up.
The water polo discussion continues on the live video stream.
I mean, it's bad form if your goalkeeper is getting splashed when the ball's coming at her and she's getting splashed in the face, so she's turning her head away from the ball and just blindly waving her other hand to try and block the shot on goal attempt. I mean, aren't you supposed to power through and watch the ball?
They wear goggles, right?
No, they're not wearing goggles.
No goggles? Is that illegal in water polo, Patrick?
Well, you don't go underwater. There's no reason to wear goggles.
That's true. It would seem like it would seem like a more of a detriment because they could fog up or yeah. I can see the no goggle idea in water. I've been fascinated. I watched I watched the rugby just a little while ago, and now into the water polo this morning. Again, water polo, it almost like terrifies me.
Yeah, well, I'm all in on this gymnastics. I'm pretty sure these guys are using spider tack too. I haven't seen them put stuff on their hands. I'm pretty sure it's spider tack. I don't know if that's illegal in gymnastics or not.
So you're on to the male gymnastics? Is that
it's the men's all around. So I've just been watching Russia and America go head to head, and we're on the parallel bars right now, and it's just everything they do is nuts.
This is like horse racing, right? Where for 4 races a year, you tune in, and then I have no clue about horse racing the rest of the year. Like gymnastics, they do have like SEC gymnastics comes on the SEC network, but by and large, you ignore this thing unless it's the Olympics, correct, Patrick? And
yeah,
you're all bought in completely.
Well, it's horse racing I like because of the pomp and circumstance of the Triple Crowns, but this is just more jaw dropping because we are also human beings, and just watching them do things that I, of course, could not do. Like horse racing is just cool because you like the event, but I'm just watching people do things that I could never in a million years even attempt. So, like I couldn't even get up on the bars and hold myself up on the bars. These guys are just spinning around doing flips, and it's insane.
See, I think you're still in a place at 25 years old where you can maybe convince yourself that you could if you trained really hard, you could do some of that. I'm at the place at 43 where I'm like, oh yeah, it just makes me feel older. I definitely no possible way that's just not happening in my lifetime. I won't be able to do that. That's just how I see it. But 1 through 10, Patrick, your interest in the Olympics right now seems to be at a solid 9.
Yeah, it's pretty high. Yeah, I'll watch as well. I'm just struggling to navigate through the television product right now. I'm not loving it. I'm not loving what they're doing.
Well, it's tough. I get the notification on my phone yesterday early. Team USA loses to France. Then I turn on my TV at, I don't know what time it was. It was 5:30-ish, maybe 5 o'clock. And Team USA's up 7 with less than 4 minutes to go in France. I'm like, maybe they got this. Did I read that wrong? Is they really going to collapse this bad right in front of my eyes? And they obviously did. And it was just time delayed that way. But this happens almost every Olympics. That's not near our time zone. Happened last time at Rio as well. You always can get the results way ahead of when you can watch it on TV a lot of times, unless you're just up at odd hours with a 13-hour time difference now between us and Tokyo. To me, that ruins a lot of it if I know the result before I watch it. And then I'm not going to be that guy who completely goes dark and then just waits to watch the Olympics to make sure that I don't know the results. I put my number at about 5 right now of Olympic interest. Bill, where are you at, 1 through 10?
Yeah, I don't know what number it would be associated, because if it's own, I'm watching it, but I'm not going out of my way to watch it. So 5, 7, I don't know. I'm kind of with you guys, or I'm more on your side than I am Patrick's. I'm watching it now because it's just something more to watch. what I typically watch CNBC and the little morning talk show that they have. Like the perfect example, yesterday my father texted me and said, "Are you watching the Olympics early in the morning?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, this is great." I was like, "Yeah, I'd prefer it be the British Open or College Game Day, but sure, I'll take the Olympics, I guess." I don't even know what I was watching. Probably more water polo yesterday. It seems like a big round of water polo going on right now.
So my question to you guys, back to something much more pertinent to us locally, this Oklahoma and Texas possible expansion to the SEC. If it goes down how we think it's going to go down, that today is the day that they officially, both of those schools, tell the Big 12, nope, we're not going to renew the media rights that run out in 2025 when the Big 12 contracts are set to expire media-wise. Does this become a lame duck situation for 4 years? They really let it play out this long? Or does some money get involved and this thing get fast forwarded to where the Big 12 is going to dissolve within the next year or two, and we're going to see the SEC and then the other conferences kind of latch on and kind of pick apart whoever they want from the Big 12 and expand that way, and the Big 12 won't make it to 2025? Because as I sit here right now, I find it very hard to believe that the Big 12 is going to play a 2024 football season with Texas and Oklahoma.
You know what? I actually think it's not based on what I think. Texas and Oklahoma are out next year. I think that's the likely scenario, but I could see a situation in which the remaining 8 schools ask them to stick around one more year, to basically give us one more year would almost be their plea, so that we can get everything locked up, that we can decide our path. And I think that's why you're seeing now the Big 12, like the other 8 schools, or I don't know if you guys saw what they're being called, the other 8. Have you seen the new moniker for the other 8 schools?
It should be the other 8. What is it?
Well, it's basically what it is, but it's called the Tag Along 8. So, as they're referring to it, the Tag Along 8, what I think you're seeing them try to get this situation actually resolved quickly as well. Hey, Texas, Oklahoma, we don't want you to go, but if you're going to do it, we need answers, because we've got to make the best decisions now for our school. If you're Iowa State, or have you already had the conference call with the Big Ten to see what you can do? That grant of rights. I think what's more interesting is the television deal is I think it's with Fox. The main deal is with Fox.
Right.
Can they just end it? Can the conference just go away like that, and the conference and the television deal?
Bill, we all know how contracts work, right? Any contract can be ended with enough money. That's what this comes down to. And so how will the SEC, the Big 12, move forward, assuming this is going to happen? Travis says, I thought they said Texas and Oklahoma have to pay $76 million each to leave now, which is what's remaining on their TV deals. No, that's just the exit fee, basically, because that's what the yearly payout has been, kind of times 2. $38 million is what the yearly payout was most recently. And then you got to give 18 months notice to get out of the league, is what they're saying. So that would be two sports years. So you multiply the 38 times 2 to get a $76 million number. And that would be, I think, the proposed number to get out in 2025 when this media grant of rights runs out, technically. I think the number would go up.
I don't think there's no fee in 2025. If they stick it out through 2025, I don't think there's a fee. If I've read this correctly, that $76 million is about what they would have to pay total each school to get out. We'll kind of go back and confirm that, because I've seen a couple numbers thrown out, and the number does go down with each passing season, kind of as you just pointed out. So there's a few little loopholes there that Texas and OU could use. They're still going to pay pretty large sum of money, but the bottom line is they'll probably get that money back very quickly by making this move to the SEC.
Wouldn't one of those loopholes just be that the TV deal is negotiated with a conference, the Big 12, and if the Big 12 ceases to exist, then who is the contract with? Like a non-existent entity? The Big 12 will be dead, right? Like there's Big 12, if they don't exist because Texas and Oklahoma are going to leave, then they can't they just, it's like kind of like bankruptcy or something like that. You just be like, yeah, we don't exist anymore. We're done.
Well,
Well,
but
that's
an
what I'm saying.
entity
I'm
wouldn't
guessing
wouldn't
I mean,
kill itself if they're going to hold the other parties to that contract, right? Texas
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Oklahoma are the Big 12 through
Yeah.
25, the media rights. So you can't say, okay, you guys can leave, and now we don't exist, and that's why you don't have to.
Well, if they know they're leaving, then everyone else is just gonna spread out and not have their deals. Like, was there not word that they were going to join the Big Ten last week, or that was in the works?
again, there's been nothing
There's
confirmed.
word everywhere.
That was on Friday, I think. There's been nothing confirmed. There's been some what I would call speculative reports. I haven't seen anything from a writer or a media member that I think is credible to believe, but there's been speculation that Iowa State and Kansas have already maybe had a discussion or some form of backroom discussion with the Big Ten. There was a report out there over the weekend that Texas Tech, TCU, and Baylor have reached out to the Pac-12 to gauge their interest. I find all those far more, I wouldn't say credible, but I find all those far more believable than, well, Clemson and Florida State have reached out to the Big Ten, or South Carolina's the SEC has reached out to Michigan and Ohio State. I don't believe any of that. What I do see is right now Big 12 schools trying to confirm or trying to save themselves, essentially. And again, whether that's with the AAC or with the Big Ten or with the Pac-12, maybe Oklahoma State's begging right now on the line. Maybe Oklahoma State's just sent a bunch of representatives, and they're sitting outside the office of Greg Sankey, waiting for him to show up. Please let us in. We'll bring another team. We'll be 18. We'll be an 18-team league. But we'll see how this all kind of plays out from that standpoint. This is from ESPN, Tim. This is what I read over the weekend. ESPN reported Thursday that both Texas and Oklahoma would likely owe the Big 12 upward of $76 million apiece to buy out the remainder of their grant of media rights agreement, which runs through 2025. That's what it's going to cost. There's not an actual cancellation fee or an exit fee. That's just what they would owe, $76 million. And I believe the number that the SEC paid out this year was somewhere in the ballpark of $45 million.
Right.
So if you do the math on that, if you're out, I guess that is at the end of this year. 76 is what would be owed, and you were able to somehow get into the SEC next year. You basically have made that money back within 2 years.
803-404-6100 is the number in the program. Courtney says on the Facebook live stream, I'm late to this party. Is it confirmed that Texas and OU are coming to the SEC? No, nothing official. No official confirmation yet, but nothing over the weekend that makes us think that is still not likely to happen, for sure. You're listening to the early game here on 107.5. The weekend or the week of summer vacation for my family is done. We were hanging out all at the beach last week, and 16 people in a house made me have more appreciation for clean floors and carpets. And I've got that at my house courtesy of Zero Res. Carpet and air duct cleaning. Zero Res has done a great job. Been out to my house a couple of times. Cleaned my carpets, cleaned an area rug for me, the tile in the kitchen and the bathroom. And really what I most appreciate about Zero Res, they bring back that new house feel. It's kind of like the new car smell. At my house, I get the new house feel. It feels like when I first moved in, everything's nice and fresh, and take the big deep breath. That's what Zero Res brings to my house. Also, they do it differently than anybody else. No harsh chemicals involved in their patented powered water system, especially important to my wife and I with our 3 young kids. Nothing to worry about there. Also, our carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. No leftover soapy residue to attract more dirt into the carpets. Right now, they've got a great deal for you, too. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119, plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. ZeroResColumbia.com, where you can book your appointment today. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
What's the super high bar called? Is it called the high bar?
What's What's that, Patrick?
This event that they're doing is on like a really high bar. They're spinning around on it.
Right.
Is that what it's
I
called?
think that's what it's called, is the super high bar.
Well, it's the male equivalent of the uneven bars for the female.
Yeah. Because they already did parallel. I guess I missed the rings.
So it's balance beam and floor exercise. Those are the two that are in there for women.
Balance beam, floor exercise, parallel bars, vault,
No.
and
Parallel bars women don't do, right?
uneven bars. Sorry.
Right. Uneven bars and high bar are kind of the same thing. So it's parallel and pommel horse for men, right? And floor exercise and what was the other one?
How many things are there? Because that's more than 5 for the guys. I thought it was 5 events.
No clue. And I'm glad you don't know.
He's gonna know though. He's gonna look it up.
I'm looking it up right now.
See, this is why Patrick was a good fan. No interest at all. Next day, all in.
All right. Why only 3? Six events. Floor exercise, pommel horse, rings, vault, parallel bars, horizontal bar. It's the horizontal bar. Women's all around is just 4. Vault, uneven bars, balance beam, and floor exercise.
Jen is ghosting us today. You guys know. Oh, we got her back. Jen, is Tim still on the phone there?
He is. Not sure how much time you're going to have.
We'll take the extra minute, obviously, and we'll try to shove it in there real quick.
Okay.
I think that's a good thing, right? Jacob, what job we do? Yeah.
Today for 0% financing. No one.
I don't know how their arms don't rip off their bodies.
The old all drug Russian Olympics deadlift from Saturday Night Live.
I have not seen that. Who's doing it?
Bill Hartman, I think. All right, Tim on the Love Chevy phone lines, right? Jen, the Texas fan?
Yep, correct. All right, you guys are up.
Dramatic conclusion of hour number 2, right out to the Love Chevy phone lines with a Texas fan, Tim, joining us on the Love Chevy phone lines.
803-404-6100. Good morning, sir. What are you thinking about all this SEC talk?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm excited. Everyone, I went to Citadel Elementary Graduate School at the University of Texas. Lifelong fan. My mom went there, so I'm excited. Everybody I went to school with is excited. And this is actually it makes for an interesting dynamic because people were like, "What you think?" Well, it's going to be harder for Texas to win games. I'm like, I don't care. I will enjoy watching the games in October. You know what I mean? And that's really the difference. My in-laws are a bunch of Clemson fans, and I got to throw shade their way. That I've never understood how they're fine
45
watching a game in August that's good, that's non-conference, and then they don't see another good game until December or January. And it's always blown my mind that Clemson fans can have an absolute boring regular season schedule, just so that way they
30.
And, you know, I don't care. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to watching games in September and October against a bunch of really fun schools to watch. And it's going to be great. And baseball is going to be even more brutal in the SEC, too. I think that'll be another fun one to
15.
watch. So I'm excited, man.
Appreciate the phone call and the timing. You nailed it. You stuck it, even with the Olympic music. Maybe that was the inspiration. Hour 3 coming up.
WNKT-FM Eastern.
Hour break. And I totally didn't get any. So let me go get a cup of coffee so that it doesn't just put them here.
Great comeback. Hey, tell Texas fan to shut up and play Clemson instead of talking crap.
Welcome to Monday.
There's Troy, right back.
It's boring to me.
Yeah. I mean, really. Oh, wow. We beat an inferior team really badly.
Morning Wit out in Texas. All right, Bill's got the scene set for us. What do you think? Do you think we can get Bill to just leave his computer like that, even when we go back to the studio in about a month?
So he can pull it up.
Right?
There you go.
I'll bring my computer into the studio so we can hear Bill off camera, but we'll still have his name up like that.
So is he changing his name, or that's not his Twitter handle officially?
Yeah, you never know with that guy. Is that a tape recorder you have there, Patrick? Oh, it's your phone.
My phone. Yeah.
That's how old I am.
I was gonna say, does he know what one of those is?
Good point.
I don't know if I could use one.
And we lost the sunrise. Oh, yeah, strobing on us.
Trying to.
Couldn't hit that record button. Too difficult, and then play.
Well, is it that simple? You just put in a tape and hit a record button and play back?
And if you don't want it to be recorded over, there's a little thing that you
That-
notch.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, the closest thing to that the only thing at time I've ever used a tape of any sort is VCR.
Nice.
I think every broadcast student should still have to edit audio with, the razor blade and the tape and splice it and put it together.
Might as well have to do black and white video too. Then I'm going that far back.
There you go.
I got all the equipment to do that.
You have reel to reel?
So I've
Nice.
got
Grandfather stuff.
Yep. It's all at the office because apparently we can't throw it away.
That's awesome, though. That's really cool.
Probably donated to a museum at this point.
I need to get it out of the office. Like I've got a big dumpster out back that I would more than happily use to do that. But
No, don't do that. See if we can find a home for it.
he's got all kinds of stuff.
I'm running upstairs real quick, or not real quick, but I'll be back.
Oh, okay.
As quickly as his stiff and sore body will let him. So I'm trying to figure out how to change the input options on this Ocean Audio, because I'm being told that the settings were set to camera input. Well, why did we leave it at camera input? What do we? I'm telling you, I'm coming unglued. I should not have come in today.
I don't like it. I don't like the Ocean at all.
But he told me, what to change on the inputs. I can't find it. That's why I turned the camera off. I didn't think people needed to see my face nor potentially hear me.
Yelling,
Uh-huh.
punching the computer.
Yeah, pretty much. Just one of those Monday mornings. I thought it would be easier coming in.
Oh,
So I hope everybody else has a good start to their Monday and not ugly and hateful like I've been.
the other thing I tell you one thing I gotta go do today. Apparently, when I went to the beach on Friday, I had my debit card in my bag, and I think some sand got into the chip because the card is not working on the chip reader.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm having to do the chip thing 3 times everywhere I go and then be able to swipe it. It was a pain in the rear end on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that stinks.
Forgot. I need to do that.
Hello, bank people.
Yeah, the good news is I use First Reliance, and since it's a smaller bank, that they're able to print you a card right there in the store.
TD does that too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, well, if it's a debit card, if it's a credit card, I think no matter what, they have to send it. I think.
Right.
But yeah, love that.
Jen, I guess I need to email Josh. I'm out next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm actually going to take some days off.
Okay.
Just let him know, and then we can do a few things that we need to do on our end this week. So I guess because I've been watching the hockey stuff, it's had a bunch of these promos for the Todd Chrisley family.
Yeah.
Everybody loves, what is it? Chrisley family spout? I don't know what it is. Do you know he's from South Carolina?
Yeah, Chrisley knows best.
Whatever.
It's actually pretty funny, I will say.
I was reading about it yesterday. I mean, it sounds more like a television show than a reality show. Like, it sounds more like a Family Matters. The way the little thing that I was reading about, the way I was reading it, I was talking about how his mom is always trying to his son is always into get rich quick schemes, and his
mom wants to gamble. We're actually in the intro.
Oh, good.
Magic timing.
All right, here we go.
175 the game yesterday.
Kind of sounds like one of the few country songs I know. Happy Trails. You feel like Oklahoma and Texas presidents just kind of had that on in the background when they were talking to the Big 12 Executive Committee, just subtly. That's the feeling I get right now. In the latest news that the Big 12 Executive Committee had a video conference, a little Zoom call that Texas and Oklahoma decided to show up for this time, as opposed to the last one they didn't. And the meeting was cordial, I think is how Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner of the Big 12, said, or led off, and that those discussions will continue. And so now, Bill, I think the latest that is supposed to happen today is that the official notice will go in from both of those schools that they're not going to renew their media rights in 2025, and the working out of the details continues. From my standpoint, what I read over the weekend and got more into how divisions might work out, and I'm not going to say the word pods anymore. Done with pods. And be 4 divisions, 4 teams each, with Oklahoma and Texas join, and they could figure out a way where you play every team in your division, like the NFL, and then you could play basically everybody else within a 4-year period, home and away. Perfect. How is this not an ideal setup moving forward for the SEC, Patrick? As you look skeptical.
Well,
I'm not sure. What's the
No, I was thinking about you're upset with the pods, the name, but for the SEC championship, it would have nothing to do with the pods, right?
Correct, the division.
Like I do feel like division would imply that you have to like the winners of the divisions. So it's not necessarily it's not your division because there's nothing to compete. You're not competing with the other teams in your division directly like that. It's just these are your pods. This is the teams that you'll play every year, and then it's the idea that the top two records would play each other in the SEC championship no matter what.
That's the deal. No, you're exactly right. So that makes sense now in my brain. The difference between pods and divisions, that division kind of set up then how you move forward there in the playoffs. This would have nothing to do with that. It's only basically your permanent opponents. So instead of now what it is in the crossover permanent opponent, and you play everybody in your division, it would just go to that pod, and I think you kind of rotate the other pod teams that you play, and that's how you make this happen. To me, all fans want, Bill, is that if you're in a conference, then it's as set up as fairly and to where you play as many different opponents as possible, as often as possible. Isn't that what fans want? Isn't that the simply put?
I think fans just want to win, but I think that at the end of the day, we've seen it with how the SEC is set up, where you've gone long stretches without seeing certain teams. And if you're going to do this, look, I get it. Some people don't want to play Texas and Oklahoma. They say it's going to make it harder. I get that, but I would personally like to see Texas and Oklahoma come to Williams-Brice Stadium. One of the things that's going to happen here is, whether you like it or not, and this is going to be kind of just a whole other interesting conversation. People say, I don't want to play those cupcake games. I don't like playing. It's one of those debates that we've had about scheduling, right? You get some people say, I want 3 cupcake games. I want to win as many as possible. So, outside of the non-conference games that are Clemson, I want Troy, Georgia State, and Charlotte. Those 3 teams. And then you got people who say, I don't want to waste my season ticket money on 3 games like that. That's no fun. I want to see a Virginia Tech or a Miami or, a North Carolina State or a North Carolina. Well, in this scenario, what you are getting is you want to see Texas and Oklahoma come. Now, that's going to cause higher ticket prices, probably $100, $110 for a ticket at Williams-Brice Stadium, but it's worth it. In part for the university that they like, it'll generate more revenue in ticket sales. So, you want to see – I want to see those teams. I want to take a trip out to Austin and to Norman and go check out those stadiums. Those are bucket list stadiums. Bucket list – I don't know if I'd put Norman, Oklahoma on a bucket list town in college football that I'd want to go to. But, I would definitely plan a trip out there whenever South Carolina goes.
Well, to me, that's a lot like Lincoln, Nebraska, right? You never put Lincoln, Nebraska on your bucket list of items, but you go see a game in Lincoln, Nebraska, a college football game that Saturday. Throw that on the list. See the old boomer roll out there in Norman. Certainly much different than just visiting Norman, Oklahoma in March, something like that.
But that's why college weekends are nice, because it's a small town. You can have one day to watch football and one day to explore the town. It's not like, hey, I'm going to go see the New York Jets play, but I've only got one day to see all of New York City. No, it's not like that. I'm sure there's a day's worth of things to do in Norman, and that'll be good.
And also, too, if you've ever been in Columbia for a big game weekend, the city feels different on a Friday than it does on any other day, because people are coming in, excited. You can feel it in the air, man. There are people out eating and the whole thing. And that's part of what we lost last year with capacity being so far downsized and just COVID being what it was, right? I mean, you didn't have the same feel around college football. It's what we lost in all sports, but especially in college football, Bill, where I feel like the experience is unique for that weekend. And then especially we've seen it too, through the South Carolina lens, just coming into the SEC and Gamecock fans being able to travel to these venues for the first time and then getting used to going back there and kind of establishing a road routine like that. That's part of the excitement, I think, of allowing an Oklahoma and Texas in. Yeah, you understand from a strategic standpoint, it's not easy. And it's not necessarily a good thing if you're looking for championships, but adding those 2 schools with their history and the pedigree, I think only makes the conference stronger, only makes your school stronger, I think, in the big view, in the long run. How do you see it?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes your school stronger. I mean, because the only thing South Carolina is gaining in this is revenue, and they've already been given a lot of revenue. Now, that revenue has been used to build a brand new practice facility and operations building, to which is being used on the recruiting trail with a level of success right now. But at the same time, Clemson built an operations building that's very nice. Clemson's throwing every dime they've got into their football program, and quite frankly, nobody up there is going to complain about some other programs either being cut or being not being funded quite as well. I mean, so that's kind of where we are. So what South Carolina gains here is the revenue, but does it really enhance your football program? Yeah, you might have a nicer stadium. Maybe you can spend a few more dollars on research to find the right color garnet to go on your banner that goes on the outside of your stadium. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But the bottom line is, adding these two teams. But let's be clear, because people are like, well, if adding these two teams doesn't help South Carolina's chances of winning a championship, it doesn't help anybody's chances of winning a championship. This doesn't really help Alabama. Adding Oklahoma, who continues to recruit at a high level, adding Texas, who has the ability, who I think is number 6 in recruiting right now, and Steve Sarkisian. I mean, even Alabama, it's not like it necessarily helps them.
Yeah. Did you see the suggested pods? I think they'd play Vanderbilt and Tennessee every year. That'd be pretty good.
Was that Alabama's?
Alabama, Auburn, Vandy, and Tennessee. I saw that as a suggested pod division. And then the way we have a question here about the historical rivalries, and Max hits us up and says, talk about how they're supposed to keep Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, and Georgia happy with their historical rivalries. I think that's where you have maybe one permanent crossover, and how you get beyond that because of those historical rivalries, and then you're able to rotate everybody else. I think the way that I saw the hypothetical is that you're only able to do that if you increase the conference schedule to 9 games. And I think everyone is all for that. I think after watching 10 conference games last year is the time to make that happen, right? That the world didn't end with 10 conference games, and Alabama was still able to roll through. And there are many more pros than cons, I think, from 8 conference games in the SEC to 9, including a bunch more revenue for a lot of these programs.
It does seem like no matter what, you're going to lose some of those rivalries on a year-to-year basis. I mean, Georgia would not be in the same pod as Auburn. LSU and Florida are separate. Texas was not even in the same pod as Texas A&M. So, but as long as you're in the same conference, you're still going to play those games. It just won't be as often, and maybe they'll be a bigger deal when they do get played.
But the way that they could get around that is then to insert
the game,
one crossover game that you're able to keep.
But aren't there still too many? I mean, are there just too many kind of rivalries within this conference? I mean, you can't make everybody happy, but
yeah, it's not going to be 100%. But I think you can get even better than it's set up right now. And that's the part of the attractiveness, I think, from a South Carolina or a SEC school that understands that a championship path is now more difficult. Interesting analogy from Stephen on the Cool Heating and Air text line. It's like having a beauty contest with 14 girls. You're one of the 14 girls. They're all pretty. Some are prettier than others. Some are gorgeous. You're pretty but unlikely to win. Then they add 2 more girls that are prettier than you and in beauty contests all the time. Are you happy they added the 2 additional girls? Does adding the 2 new really pretty girls give you a better chance at winning? No, it hurts. But Steven's leaving out that you get paid a certain amount of money just to be in the contest. And if you add those 2 girls, then guess what? Your lowest possible payday gets raised a lot more. If we're going to continue that analogy.
But then the next beauty contest that you're trying to get to has 12 spots available. And if you're one of the 4 prettiest girls, maybe you advance on to the next round of beauty pageants that are I've never done beauty pageants. I have no clue. Is that how it works? And they're preliminaries, and then you go on to the next round. How does that work?
It's also football, and it's not a complicated concept that needs to be compared to a beauty contest so that people can understand it. It's not like we're not making an advanced scientific equation more simple by making a beauty pageant
It
metaphor.
was an interesting path. I like the attempt.
Travis.
I like the attempt. But
How
again,
about Travis on Facebook Live? He says, "Then you take that money and see a plastic surgeon and make you even
That's a
prettier."
good point. And yeah, it's just good grief. What a
Let's
what a
not
rabbit
go
hole to
down
open
that
up
path.
the third
That's
hour.
quite the analogy. Quite the analogy you guys are down that one. Jim in Goose Creek says, if Texas and Oklahoma come this year, what happens to SEC fall schedule? Nothing's going to happen this year in 2021. I don't think anything's going to happen in 2022. The question becomes, does it happen before the 2025 season? Because right before the 2025 football season kicks off, that's when this Big 12 media deal runs out, right? That's when their TV contract is done. It goes through that 2024, 2025 sports schedule, which ends after baseball.
I
So
think
as we sit here now, is this thing going to happen before 2025 is the question. And Bill, you're about to go on the gas baggy hot take that yes, you think it will.
Yeah, I think it's 2023. I think like you said, I think it'll be the Big 12 will do this year and next year. Because even if Texas and Oklahoma agree within the next month, even if there's an agreement, there's still some things that need to be sorted out. There's some scheduling that's got to be redone. I can see Texas and OU basically giving the Big 12 one more very uncomfortable year in 2022. I think that we see the start of this. And I'll be honest, I think to an extent, if you're the SEC, with the way the college football playoff is going to change and with everything that's going to change regarding college football and the new era of college football starting in 2025, I think you almost want like a 2-year test run to see how all this is setting up. Because, Tim, part of this from the conference standpoint is positioning each of as many teams as you can to be in that 12-team playoff when we get to the college football, to 2025. And if you end up with 4 major conferences and then basically one non-Power 5 school that's able to get in, and then you've got 7 open spots, you want your conference champion and then maybe 3, 4, 5 other teams that are deemed worthy of being in that college football playoff. So it wouldn't surprise me. I think 2023 is where I sit here, is when we see all of this come together and we see the SEC make that expansion.
And your thought process behind that includes being a lame duck conference, Big 12. I mean, it's clearly, and you already said they're being called the tag along 8.
Yeah.
You don't want to have that reputation as a school, a team, whatever. You want to get rid of that as soon as you can. And I agree with you from a PR standpoint that that's just a bad look, that all those schools are just hanging on to Texas and Oklahoma as long as possible to squeeze as many dollars out of as they can. Let's not forget, this conference football playoff, this college football playoff proposal. Remember, those 4 buys were for conference champions, right? It's interesting that now end up being 4 conferences and be a very clean deal, right? As opposed to how we all were thinking about it with work with the Power 5, and then you got Notre Dame out there floating around. They're not even in a conference. Well, it makes a lot of sense. Notre Dame just joins up with the ACC. That Big 12 goes away. You only have 4 big-time conferences. They slide right in there, and you move forward from there. 803-404-6100. The number in the program. Love to move forward with more of your thoughts. You can call us on the Love Chevy phone lines. You can hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, where Travis just said, why even do pods? Just let each team have a select amount of permanent opponents and rotate the rest. It would give the most flexibility in scheduling. That's basically what that would be, right? Pod is your permanent opponent. And you just throw that out there, and that's it. And Patrick, you're the only one that has broken it down, and you have me satisfied this morning. The difference between pods and divisions. If you call them divisions, then you should have a division champion, and that champion should move on and match up against other division champions. And if you're just going to do it the way that the SEC is kind of proposing right now, or the hypothetical proposal would be, is that those winners of the pods, it means nothing.
Isn't it way more likely that there will be ties now, though? How are the ties going to get broken?
What do you mean?
Yeah, records. If you just have
records.
The 2 best records meeting in the conference championship, well, head-to-head would be number 1, right? And if you don't meet head-to-head, then it gets complicated.
Yeah, maybe you go to your own pods. I mean, they're going to come up with tiebreakers, and it'll be But you go to 9 conference games, and in this conference, I think it'll sort out. I don't know how much conference championships will matter. Obviously, getting the bye will be huge, but that's going to be another very interesting part. You're not doing away with conference championship games. I'm just and I don't think people will start sitting their best players. I'm not going down that path. That's going to be another interesting element.
Yeah, Chris seems to agree with us. The decision to switch will be announced this year, and then they'll settle on a buyout for them to switch and start playing in 2023. David asks on Facebook Live, what about the price of tickets? If the price goes up, it's hurting the people football is for. I can barely afford taking my boy and me to a game right now. I know what you're saying there, but also improving the television product at the same time, the casual football fan, I think will be the trade-off, right? It's great for the football fan at home watching on TV, and with a bunch of the money, maybe the bulk of the money coming in with these media rights deals, the TV money deal, especially the one the SEC just signed with Disney. I think that's how you sell it, in that, yep, you understand the price of admission goes up for some of these games at home, or person, I should say, but what you're paying for at home, the product gets that much better from a college football standpoint, especially if you add another conference game in there. Like, it seems to me to be inevitable. Now, my question for you guys, maybe we'll talk about this coming back, is how will coaches approach this? What kind of messaging are we going to get from, because someone hit us up a little bit earlier and said they'd love to hear Frank Martin or Mark Kingston's thoughts about adding Oklahoma. This is from Tim A via the YouTube live stream. I'm interested in that as well. And also, who will be willing to kind of go against the party line? Because, again, part of the SEC strength is everybody moving in the same direction. And I got to think it's come down from the commissioner already. Here's how we would like you to address this moving forward. Or here's the kind of the recommended tone moving forward with Oklahoma and Texas. Will we hear a very similar tone from head coaches of especially the money-generating sports? Discuss that as we roll on this morning. Again, love to hear more from you. 803-404-6100. It's the early game on 107.5.
A lot of things happening, time moving quickly. One of the things still happening is the ability to refinance and save money with low interest rates. Now is the time to get in touch with Jacob Crowder. Just take 5-10 minutes. Give him a call today, 803-719-1005. See what you can be approved for. Might get a lower interest rate. Might be able to save $200, $300, $400 on your monthly mortgage payment. Maybe you have some equity in your home. You might be able to get some money back from that. There's so many things that can happen with just a quick phone call. 803-719-1005. All you got to do is get in touch with the mortgage guru himself, Jacob Crowder, First Palmetto Bank. He and Brian Kovar are helping people across the Midlands, and you could be one of those people. Just give him a phone call. Again, it'll take 10 minutes, and who knows, it could save you a whole lot of money monthly on that mortgage payment. 803-719-1005. You can email him, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDR at firstpalmetto.com. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank.
Oh, fun show today.
Boy, the fencing is a wild sport to watch because it looks like two robots. I mean, they've got one of them's got this helmet and it lights up red, and the other one's green. So if you get hit, it lights up. It's a interesting sport here.
Good luck with that, Chad. His divisions, Carolina's division would be Tennessee, Vandy, and Kentucky. Yeah, right. I've seen
Auburn, Georgia, Florida. Yeah.
Right. I've seen Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky as the most likely.
Yeah, I would hate giving up the every other year trip to Vanderbilt. That's the only thing I don't like about that.
I hear you. That's what we're asking, Hope. That's what we're asking. Nobody knows. It seems like that is the latest it would happen, but I think it would happen a couple of years beforehand. Like the agreed. Okay, nothing. Maybe just spider tack on the hands, chalking things up, putting some tape around the wrists. You can do that.
No, there's quite literally not one event that they do that I could even functionally get through the routine.
Nope.
I just looked up the colleges for all these guys. We got Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Stanford for our gymnastics team.
Troy, I've seen that the Oklahoma and Texas talks have been 6 months in the making. And I totally buy that. Totally.
That's a long time.
It's a lot of money involved. Yeah, they definitely could. I've seen that as well.
South Carolina fans will not want that.
Win what?
Will not want the relegation system.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see if Ted Lasso can get Richmond AFC back into whatever Premier League that they're in.
Do you guys see the first episode?
I haven't watched.
No,
I'm
I
actually
kinda wanna
still trying to
binge it.
finish up last season.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
It's pretty seamless, like no drop off, I don't think.
Yeah, I kind of want to binge it.
Right, I hear you. Yeah, they're putting it out, I think, just week by week now.
Oh, are they?
Whit wants to know, Patrick, he thinks you're the expert here. What pod or division Carolina be in?
Well, when we were talking about it on Friday, I was trying to write it out, and it was pretty similar to what the SEC network came up with. Yeah, I think they'd definitely be with Kentucky, probably Georgia, and Florida or Tennessee. We said maybe Tennessee, but I just know that they're crazy about keeping Tennessee and Alabama together. They'll do anything to keep that game being played.
Which one?
Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's an old school SEC rivalry that they're not going
But-
to do away with.
But Auburn and Georgia is the oldest rivalry in the South, and they'll go ahead and get rid of that one.
That's true.
Well, that's why I think they'll keep this crossover thing. I think they can make everybody happy, or pretty close to everybody happy.
What
Yeah.
do you mean? Keep just the divisions?
No, get the pods, have everybody in the pods, right? And then you get one permanent crossover, and then that's how they make the asterisk.
LSU not playing Alabama
Is that-
every year
is that
would kind of
solved?
stink.
Well, no, then you eliminate Georgia, Florida. So which game would Georgia rather keep? The cocktail party versus Florida or the game versus Auburn?
Well, Georgia would be in their pod. Georgia and Florida would be in pods together, and then they'd do the crossovers. Florida
Right.
would probably play LSU, and Georgia would play Auburn.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. What they're saying is you will play two teams, rotate two teams from every pod.
No,
Yeah, that's what that's what I saw. That was
No. but you play everybody within your own pod,
correct.
and then two teams rotate from different pods. But you have
nine conference games, 3
Right.
years, two teams from every other pod, and you rotate all of those. And I think it was then you would see everybody come
We're going
through
back in.
5 years. I think was that what the 5
yeah,
was?
4 years. But I saw.
But there would be no permanent crossover from another pod.
Right. Well, I think that's the one extra one they'll add in there just to make sure it happens. Those old school rivalries.
But is LSU Bama one of those? They're not really, right?
No.
Not really.
That would stink.
All right, bring you guys up.
Yeah, I'm a little slow. I'm just getting to the point where a lot of you already were, I think, on Friday, maybe even on Thursday after immediately hearing the news, like the proposed schedules and how it would break down. It takes me a little while longer because I mentioned it on Friday, I think. I don't want to waste any effort about getting that far down the line and then it not happening. But it certainly seems like Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC is going to happen. It seems a lot more likely that it's going to be a 16-team conference moving forward than other reports that have been thrown out there about, I don't know, what they say, 20 or 24 teams, and that Ohio State and Michigan might join the SEC and the whole thing. That just seems like an absolute explosion of the current system as opposed to a tweak and, Bill, in my opinion, kind of the natural evolution of things. Big 12, relatively weak conference that's awfully top heavy with Oklahoma and Texas. And this just seems to be kind of follow the American model these days. If you're a company that, or corporation that doesn't have everything in line, and there are larger corporations out there willing to buy you up, that's what we've seen happen. That's what we continue to see happen in our country. And I feel like this is the college athletics version of that, with the SEC coming in to take the top 2 off the Big 12. Only has 10 teams to begin with, which doesn't make any sense. And then the other 8, the tag-along 8 that you've been talking about, are kind of left to fend for themselves. And the other 4 conferences, the other 3 conferences out there left, will come in and kind of, like sharks, I guess, just take whatever they can get or pilfer the best ones, and then the left or rest to kind of fend for themselves. You see it similarly at this point?
Well, 2 questions that I would love to hear answers on. How does Texas and Oklahoma and the rest of college football view money in the next era of college football? Okay, so to me, the next era of college football starts in 2025, and it may start sooner based on how some things are going, but that's when the proposed 12-team playoff would start. How does money affect programs? Because, and I'll start with this and then I'll move to question number 2. How does money affect college football from a standpoint, whether it's name, image, likeness, or whether it's revenue you get from your conference on television contracts? Because Texas and Oklahoma can go about doing what they want to do to dominate their league for the next 25 years. Yeah, an Iowa State's going to jump up. Maybe a Baylor gets good enough for a year or 2. Maybe Kansas State has a quick run. You get my point. Oklahoma State jumps up once every 7 or 8 years. But bottom line, Oklahoma and Texas are going to run that conference as well as they can.
I get from the money standpoint. Are you talking about just from a money standpoint?
So hold on, because
they hadn't run it in football.
Well, because here's what. Well, but they could be in position to. They could be in position to with Sarkisian. We'll see what he does. But where I'm going with this is they're making this move, in my opinion, because of money. Because their revenue that they get from their television contract is $13 to $15 million less than the revenue that the SEC schools are getting. And do they view that if you're missing out and that revenue will raise a little bit with this new television contract with ABC, ESPN that the SEC signed? So do they see not getting $15 to $16 million a year as a huge detriment to trying to win a national championship? So that's question 1. Let me throw question 2 at you, and then both of you can come back with this. How do you view getting into the college football playoff now? It's going to be easier. Oklahoma doesn't have to win the Big 12 championship any longer to win in. They've just got to be one of the 12 best teams in the country, and that they're likely going to be that. Even if they go through the SEC and lose 2 games on a yearly basis, they're probably still going to be one of the 12 best. So remember I was asking earlier, I was like, what do conference championships mean nowadays? Because your ultimate goal is to get in that college football playoff. Because I think they see, hey, we go to the SEC, we take 2 losses, it doesn't really matter. We're still good enough. If we lose to Alabama and we lose to Texas A&M or somebody, we're still going to be judged upon. So that would be the 2 questions I'd love to hear either college football coaches or athletic directors answer is, how do you see money affecting college football starting in 2025? And how do you see the competition on the field getting us to the college football playoff? Because now schools are already starting to overschedule, right? We were seeing a lot of big games scheduled for 2030 and so forth and so on, because I think teams were looking at strength of schedule as a big reason or big way to get into a college football playoff. So those would be the 2 things I would wonder about college football moving forward, and to me is the motivation behind Texas and Oklahoma making this move.
Okay, Patrick, what do you got? Where does money factor in, and where does the college football playoff factor in? Those are your 2 questions, right, Bill?
Well, money is always number 1, right? I guess I don't know that. Now that I'm trying to think of how NIL factors into the money discussion too. Now that way less money could potentially be coming to the schools from from like boosters and whatnot. Now that they could probably lose potentially millions of dollars to the actual athletes themselves. So they need more of that guaranteed TV money that's not going anywhere and it's only for them. That's big. The college football playoff, I don't know who's making the decisions here. Like, is it presidents and athletic directors versus? I mean, it's not football people, so I don't think that the college football playoff is coming into their minds that much anyway. And I do think that most of these programs, like Texas, although they have no reason to feel that way, I would think operates under if we do everything the right way, like we're Texas, we can find our way to the top of any conference.
I hear what you're saying, Patrick. Bill, to me, the money question is the most interesting here. College football playoff is loosening up its requirements, right? So big-time college football programs realize they could take kind of multiple paths to make the top 12. Or maybe to be, I think for Power 5 schools, I think it might be seen as 10 spots, right? You might have 2 more outside the Power 5 as it's currently constructed, like last year when Coastal Carolina makes a run, BYU, throw in, Lafayette, or we've seen it UCF in the past. Maybe it'll be 11 out of those 12. But to me, when you're talking about University of Texas and money, this isn't a money play for them to join the SEC. When you're getting paid $38 million by your current conference, you're doing pretty well. I get it. It might be third in the Power 5, but you're $6 million behind the SEC. $6 million at Texas. Nothing per year. And this is more of a status move, right? When you're in a state where your rival, your old arch rival that you don't even play anymore because you guys are so dysfunctional, and you're seeing them waving a flag, and the best athletes in the country like that flag better than your flag, you got a problem. And when you get to a certain point, not that I know this personally, but what I've seen, when you're a billionaire, what shows me, especially in sports, what do billionaires buy sports teams for? They don't do it to make money. They do it for stats. They do it so television cameras can get them dancing like lunatics on their floor seats, and they can be talked about. Mark Cuban doesn't need the Mavericks. Are you kidding me? But he loves being talked about. He loves being on TV and in headlines and the whole thing. Texas, the money brokers, the people that have all the money there, they hate the fact that they're not on top in college football. And being on top in college football right now, unless you're Ohio State, unless you're Clemson, means that you're in the SEC. And I think this is more of a play for that, as opposed to making a few more $1 million, which for Texas money is nothing. So I think it's much more status driven than bottom line money driven, even though we all understand college football is a business. Somebody just hit us up with that. And the players, the term student athlete is a joke. The texter says these guys are there to make money for the schools. They certainly are. But at Texas, at Oklahoma, at Ohio State, at Clemson, these programs are running themselves, right? They're making a bunch of money. But right now, this play for Texas, I think, is a status move first and foremost. And it also helps that they're going to make a bunch of money. 803-404-6100 if you would like to weigh in. Love to hear your thoughts on this thing. You can call or text that number, 404-6100. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Not only can you listen to 107.5 The Game, you can also watch the early game every single morning on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Twitter as well. And then you can go back if you missed anything, and they all archive on the YouTube page. We would love for you to subscribe. Our sponsor of the video streaming portion of the early game is Buford Lending. It's just talking about status. Well, one way to get status in our country is to get more money. Right now, to get more money, you might want to make a move in the housing market, because Man, it is a hot time for sure. Just recently had a house sell on my street, and the number that was attached to that blew my mind. Well, if you've been paying attention to that, now is a great time to look at your mortgage situation. Buford Lending knows that they have an experienced team, been serving the area for 25 years or so. They want to serve you, and they're confident they can find you the best deal no matter what you're looking to do, whether you're looking to buy a new home, a second home, maybe you're looking to refinance your mortgage, you're looking into VA, USDA, conventional or construction loans. Buford Lending has experience with all of that, and they're going to find you the best numbers out there. I can attest personal experience, the numbers that I've seen from Buford Lending in that mortgage process, absolutely outstanding. Benji Getzi there for me every step in the way in that lending process, which is what I need in my lender. Let Buford Lending be yours. Give them a call, 843-524-2404. Again, that's Buford Lending, 843-524-2404.
It's a good question. I don't think Texas travels with Bevo except the bowl games, and I'm not sure about OU.
Yeah, I think it's the same. Those are just home deals.
Just bowl games?
Yeah, home deal and championship/bowl games.
All right, gotcha.
But maybe not. They might take both of them over if they play a neutral site game in Dallas, the old Jerry World. I'm guessing.
I mean, I don't think that they would bring them to Columbia, South Carolina. Let's both agree that I could see Bevo showing up at Georgia or Alabama.
That should be part of the negotiation. The first trip you make to every SEC school will include Bevo and the Boomer Schooner. After that, you make your own determination.
I don't know. Isn't that part of the allure? Don't you say no? That way people have to go to Norman, Oklahoma.
Wasn't it last year that the Boomer Schooner rolled over and they had to retire it for a couple weeks?
I thought it was a couple years.
It was like 2 years ago. Was it last year?
Ago.
The poor horrified look on those girls' faces as that thing is turning over. Great question, Chris. I don't know. Do you guys know off the top of your head? I got no clue.
I think I could have dreamed this up, so I don't know if this is true, but I feel like I've heard this. It's because with Oklahoma, they're supposed to open the land, to go in to claim your piece of property in Oklahoma, and people went in sooner than they were supposed to, and so they became known as Oklahoma Sooners because they went in. I think you're supposed to open up. To go, you could go into the state. I think whenever all that. And so people went in before they were supposed to. They were on the little schooner things, the wagons they had back in the day, and that is the origin of Oklahoma Sooners.
Nice. That's a good fact.
There's actually an article on Soonersports.com about it.
Yep, checking it out right now.
Pioneers were known as boomers. Who knew?
They don't. So that's why they say Boomer Sooner. So is that right? Is that I'm right on that? Correct?
Having to read, which
it was people who jumped the gun on the race to get the land were known as Sooners.
Exactly. So yep, Chris, that history major.
All 7 years, man, it paid off.
Yeah, that was year 6. You had to stick around to pick up that fact.
Oh.
How about up until 1907? It looks like OU athletic teams were either Rough Riders or Boomers before Sooner in 1908.
Yeah, that history degree coming in handy on July 26, 2001.
station stuff there, Jen?
I'm it's all great. And Gamecock Larry's still on hold.
Oh, beautiful. I didn't know he was on hold. Fantastic. You can yell at us now at the end of the show.
Oh, I thought I typed you the note. I'm so sorry. That's my bad.
You might have.
I didn't.
Oh, I just see your last message now. Apparently, you've been joined by friends in the studio, huh?
No. But a lot of
You've been joined in the studio? Yes.
No, just gremlins. That's all.
You sure can, Kev. You just gotta coach some AAU basketball, do some scouting for ESPN.
Patrick, what's your degree? PR?
Winding road.
Public relations, yeah.
Oh.
Political science.
Jay Phillips never even got the degree.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right. Well, you guys are up.
What a fun show it's been this morning. Texas, Oklahoma to the SEC continues to seem likely. Certainly nothing official and nothing set in stone. A lot of speculation still at this point, but over the weekend, Big 12 meeting with Texas and Oklahoma presidents, the executive committee of the conference, they said they were cordial meetings and there will be ongoing discussions. To me, that is the immediate translation to this thing's going to happen. We got to work out the details. We're not happy about it, but there's nothing we can do about it. That's how I translate the Big 12 comments from Commissioner Bob Bowlesby at this point, and then nothing from SEC that would tell me otherwise. So the reaction continues to point towards this, and seeing the reports out there that these discussions have been going or as ongoing as long as 6 months behind the scene. There was that initial reaction from Texas A&M that they're going to meet today, the Board of Regents, Texas A&M, to discuss some contractual stuff with the SEC. And at first, that seemed like, hey, they were thinking about getting the heck out of there, pursuing the conference, the whole thing that we've seen in other conferences. And then someone in charge at Texas A&M also over the weekend saying, we look forward. We will be discussing current issues as it pertains to Texas and Oklahoma, but we look forward to a long and prosperous relationship with the SEC. So to me, that showed me that cooler heads are going to prevail there, or Greg Sankey made a call and said, hey, you guys do what you want to. We don't need you. You need us. And then they changed their tone real quick out in Aggie land. 803-404-6100. I'm interested in hearing the tone of our favorite 86-year-old caller right now as we hit those Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry, been waiting patiently
on hold to weigh in this morning. What do you think, Gamecock Larry, this morning?
Texas, Oklahoma, come on in. By 2023, the Beamer Steamer will have the Gamecocks in the top echelon of the SEC. That's including Texas and Oklahoma. Old Gamecock Larry went and got him a new notebook. 2021 SEC football. I'm filling the pages up. Next Monday is the official Gamecock Larry Trust Talking Day start. The day after my birthday, I'll be 87 years old next Sunday. So we're going to open up Monday, and I'm going to tell you, the Gamecocks is going to be the surprise team of the SEC and of the nation, including Oklahoma and Texas. And we are just, the last couple of years we've worse, but we've been, Texas ain't that good. Come on in. Oklahoma, you pretty good, but come on in. Shane Beamer got your number, buddy. I'm so fired up. I can't wait.
Okay, Gamecock Larry, don't drop the mic on us.
12-0, 12-0.
Okay, we're not gonna kick you off. You hear me okay, right, Gamecock Larry?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got to know some details. I don't know about you guys. I got to know some details about this notebook. Can you tell us what it looks like, Gamecock Larry? Your 2021.
Well, I got me one of these small notebooks. I guess it's about maybe it's not the big one. It's not the small one. It's in between. but I got Gamecock football 2021, and I got pages. I already got my rebuttal on this deal what the SEC picked on the Gamecocks finishing, and I got them where they picked those Spiller over Harris. I already got that down. I'm gonna tell it all about it the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna call and talk to you guys when you let me talk. But I'm gonna tell you, Gamecocks will be the surprise team of the NCAA. Shane Beaver will be coach of the year. Quarterback, offensive coordinator. He'll be the offensive. He'll be the assistant of the year, and we're gonna go. And I just hope those Gamecock Layers are around the seed in 2024. We're going to be on top in 2024. Come on down, Texas. Come on down, Oklahoma. We're waiting on you, buddy. Come on in.
That's a great way.
Gamecock.
Great way to go out. Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen, the strongest we've heard Gamecock Larry in a while. How about that, Bill? How about that?
Rugby. Republic of South Africa, I believe. Is that correct? Patrick, does that seem right? RSA?
Yeah, the Russians just took gold in men's team gymnastics by 1/10 of a point. It was actually insane.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Gamecock Larry just gave one of the best rants in the history of 107.5 The Game, and you guys just tuned out and just listened, watching the Olympics?
Well, I was actually reading something on
I did.
A South Park episode that I was going to use to reference what the Texas A&M meeting is likely about tonight, but then I decided to go a different direction than to use that reference. So Texas, because all I can envision is Texas A&M, like just sitting around yelling tonight, like Texas is coming to the SEC, and there's nothing we can do, and just a whole bunch of billionaire oil people there with the hats and the jackets and everything today, just unhappy, just yelling.
You just see it lined up. The people in charge at A&M are just lining up the drinks. Like, all right, guys, let's get it all out. Tonight's the night. Let's just get it all out, and tomorrow we'll move forward. You know we're staying in the SEC, right? Okay. As long as you know, here we go. Let's get it going. Talk all the stuff you want to talk, but tonight is the night we get it all out. After this, we move forward. Yeah. Larry is energized on a Monday morning. Gamecock Larry, just as fired up as I am. Go Gamecocks. That's from Hope and Alan on the YouTube live streams. And how apparently Chris is with you guys. He says, just got an alert that the Texans are willing to trade Watson. Well, no, Chris, you really needed that alert. Yeah, of course they have been saying they're not going to trade him and the whole thing. Well, now Deshaun Watson going to report to Houston Texans camp, I saw over the weekend, to avoid getting fined $50,000 a day. This is a classic Texans thing, right? Good luck trading this guy right now, unless you got some sort of assurance from the league that he's not going to be suspended. Good luck. Wow.
I mean, he's not going to be suspended for his career, do you think? They're not going to...
It's not going to be a suspension. I think it's going to be a commissioner's exempt list.
Same thing.
But it's for a year.
That's the same thing, right?
No, it's not the same thing because they'll get paid.
Right. That's even worse for a team, right? Even worse trade bait at this point.
Yeah.
Lower value.
He'll get $10 million, I think.
And Bill, I get it. It's not for his career, right? But you don't know where this thing's going to go. The legal stuff. I don't think anybody knows right now. It's just the worst time you could possibly say, hey, okay, now we'll trade him. Brilliant.
I don't know. Well,
it is. Yeah. They're just waiting for it to be cleared up, because if you don't know what the deal is, if he's completely exonerated, then maybe his value will be much higher. But right now, you might have to just trade him for a box of rocks, and nobody's going to want to take that on. It's going to be tough. It's just awkward timing.
That's where you might get a franchise willing to take a risk, not having to give up that much.
Well, but that's the thing. The Texans could get 3 or 4 first-round picks if they just wait and everything does.
No, I'm with you on the
All
Texans.
right, that's another show. We'll do it again later. Matthew apparently has a response for Gamecock Larry. Good luck on the Love Chevy phone lines, Matthew. Go ahead.
Game Quack Larry. This is a Clemson fan. I don't call in much.
Hey, what do you know? Jen, I think we're out of time. Yeah, out of time. Huh, hear that music? I hear it.
That's unfortunate.
Matthew,
really unfortunate.
How dare you? You have no standing on the show and just come in all hot after our favorite near 87-year-old caller had one of his epic rants. That's just not going to play on the
I heard
program.
a notebook. You got a note?
45.
There's a new notebook?
Paper.
Yeah, paper.
Not one of the big ones or the small ones. Medium-sized
Right.
notebook.
Yeah.
5 by
was
7?
thinking Rugby in South Park is where I was at. On that
How
one.
dare you? You just take
3-on-3 basketballs.
30.
Teddy
It
D.
is, I don't see
I'm
it.
with Teddy D on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Gamecock Larry just got me all jacked up, Teddy says. I'm ready to jump in the 5 points fountains with you, Gamecock Larry.
Oh, boy.
Might want to hold off on that. But, it
15.
would be cool. It would cool you off today. Probably better to do that in July than maybe in December. Hey, thanks for listening to the early game. Dan Patrick Show coming up next.
WNKT-FM, Eastover, Columbia. Total coverage. Right here.
Okay, didn't see that one coming. That was harsh.
What was harsh? Cut him off?
No,
Or-
no, I didn't realize he was going to be that stupid.
What was it? Game Quack Larry? Is that what he called him?
Yeah. But just
How-
yelling?
How dare you? And of course, RL, it's got to be a college ruled notebook. It's Gamecock football. He doesn't do that pro stuff. Exactly, Troy. Troy, even a Clemson fan, understands how we approach Gamecock Larry today. Oh, you as well, RL. See you guys tomorrow. Exactly. You have to be in the family if you're going to pick on Gamecock Larry. Like Bill and Patrick can do that.
Yep.
They have a professional relationship with them.
That's right.
See you guys tomorrow morning.
All right.